Scarlett and I are a perfect match. You're just useless now, so get ready for a divorce. Yeah, Jeff has been saying it all along. Serena just doesn't do it for him. So hurry up and get out. Jeff and my sister Scarlett mocked me with cruel smiles. You never even noticed we've been together since high school. You're so oblivious. It's pathetic. I was shocked to learn they had been together for over 10 years. It never crossed my mind that two people I cared about so much had been carrying on such a toxic affair behind my back. I made a decision right then and there. I thought I would be raging with anger, but instead, I felt oddly calm. Maybe because Jeff and Scarlett had already took so-what attitudes toward their betrayal. Fine, I'll mail the divorce papers soon. Yay, do that. Otherwise, I can't marry Scarlett. Oh, Jeff, you're so sweet. Her childish tone made my skin crawl again, but I didn't let it show. Just, don't regret it later, okay? For a split second, my words seemed to rattle them, but they quickly resumed their laughing. Their ignorance now only made them pitiful in my eyes. I left the house without another word. My name is Serena. I'm 50 years old. I work as an executive at a company. My husband Jeff used to teach art at a high school. He's retired now, spending his time painting portraits. We met at a party. Both of us were always busy with work, so meeting new people wasn't easy. That night, despite both being there to meet someone, Jeff and I were standing in separate corners of the room. We caught each other's eyes, started talking, and immediately hit it off. We exchanged numbers that night and started seeing each other on weekends. After a few dates, Jeff confessed his feelings, and our relationship officially began. From then on, we started going on trips together, visiting each other's homes when work wore us out, gradually growing closer. One day, Jeff asked me to be his model for a painting during one of his days off. One day, I'm going to be a famous painter. And, well, Serena, I want you by my side cheering me on. Jeff, yes, I'll always be by your side. His proposal was just like him, tied to his love for art. I had always been drawn to Jeff's gentle nature and wanted to be closer to him and his art, so I didn't hesitate to say yes. After that, we continued living happily as a couple, but we never had children. There were no children in our lives. We didn't give up on the idea of having kids, and we even discussed adoption, but my work became busier, and I was away from home more and more. Jeff never complained about me being home late. Instead, he supported me. He wasn't the best cook, but he tried his best, and that made me genuinely happy. In exchange, our home became Jeff's studio. When he first suggested turning our home into his art studio, I was surprised, but over half of the house was already used as his studio, so I couldn't argue. I wished he had discussed it with me earlier, but with my busy schedule, I felt I had no right to complain. I figured it was better than paying for another space to work in, so I agreed to Jeff's plan. At that time, Jeff was still teaching, and I thought it was nice that he could paint at home comfortably. I also liked being able to watch him paint up close. Jeff had a reputation as a caring and supportive teacher back in his teaching days. It was during this time that I asked Jeff for a favor. What? You want me to help Scarlett study? Yes, exactly. I have a sister named Scarlett, who is 12 years younger than me. However, Scarlett kept getting into trouble and eventually dropped out of high school. For her future, I wanted her to at least pass the general educational development test, so I asked Jeff for help. I don't mind. I'll tutor her when I get home. Just let Scarlett know to come by in the evening. Are you sure? Well, it's not every day Serena asks me for a favor. I'll do it, but won't you be tired from work? It's fine. Teaching art isn't that exhausting. I can handle it." Jeff graciously accepted my request and agreed to tutor Scarlett. From then on, every evening after returning from work, Jeff would sit down and teach Scarlett. If I finished work early, I would prepare dinner for Jeff and Scarlett, or join them to help create a productive study environment for Scarlett. Thanks to those efforts, Scarlett eventually passed her GED. After that, she graduated from college and landed a job at a big company, where she worked her way up to a managerial position. Jeff and I were surprised and proud that Scarlett had come this far. As a high-earning professional, Scarlett hosted parties at her place about once a month, often bringing her young colleagues. Each time, she would invite Jeff and me. "You don't have to invite us every time you throw a party." One time, during one of these parties, I told Scarlett, "Serena, don't say that. I owe everything to you and Jeff for not giving up on me and helping me study back then." Hearing those words of gratitude from Scarlett made me tear up a little. Scarlett would always tell her colleagues that she owed her success to Jeff and me whenever she threw a party. Honestly, it was surprising to hear those words from the same Scarlett who used to cause so much trouble. At the same time, hearing it from her made me proud of Jeff for all those years. But I knew Scarlett's success was her own doing. She got her position through her own efforts and skills. I was as proud of Scarlett as I was of Jeff. I truly felt that way. One day, I had a day off and decided to clean the house. As I was tidying up, I found a suit Jeff had left out, and I planned to take it to the cleaners. When I reached into the pocket, I found a receipt from a popular brand store for young women. What is this? What's going on?" I wondered why there was a receipt from a popular brand store. I never had much interest in branded items. Jeff knew that, so he never gave me anything like that. That's why I immediately suspected an affair. I wanted to believe that Jeff would never do such a thing. But while I'm at work, Jeff is alone at home. He quit teaching years ago and works as an artist now. If he wanted to bring someone into the house without me knowing, he easily could. Still, I wanted to trust Jeff. We've been married for decades. I didn't want something small to ruin our happiness. "Hey, Jeff, what's this receipt from the brand store?" "Oh, that. It's for one of my models. Her birthday is coming up, so I got her a gift." I tried to keep my voice calm, but Jeff laughed casually and dismissed it, denying any deeper connection. I knew that Jeff often gave thank you gifts to his models, so at the time, I decided not to worry about it, thinking it was just another case of a model's birthday coming up. But on another day, when I bumped into Scarlett, who was visiting, I noticed she was wearing the same perfume as me. "Hey, Scarlett, did you use my perfume without asking?" "What? Of course not." I confronted her, thinking she used it while I was away. But Scarlett responded defensively, "Well, I smell the same scent on you, and you've always said you liked this perfume. That doesn't mean I'd take yours without asking. My boyfriend gave it to me." She then showed me a bottle of the exact same perfume. I knew my own bottle was still in my room, so I had no argument. "Serena, don't worry about it. We're family," Jeff said, laughing as he intervened. "Yay. Sorry, Scarlett, for getting upset so suddenly." "It's fine. No big deal." I admitted my mistake and apologized, and Scarlett smiled, forgiving me. I reflected on how sensitive I'd become since finding that receipt from the brand store earlier. But my instincts were right, as I would soon find out. It was during a time when I had to leave for a long business trip. When I returned home after the trip, I found a long strand of black hair on our bed. "Why is there a long hair in our bedroom?" I shouted into the empty room. I kept my hair short for work, so there was no reason for long hair to be there. I was convinced Jeff had brought a model into our bedroom and was cheating. From there, I acted quickly. I hired a private investigator to look into Jeff's behavior. Following the investigator's advice, I secretly installed small cameras and listening devices throughout the house, ensuring Jeff wouldn't notice. During the investigation period, I continued to interact with Jeff, as usual, acting like everything was normal. When he was with me, he didn't show any suspicious behavior. I guess it's happening while I'm at work. With that thought in mind, I waited for the results. About a month later, the report came in. As I read through the report, I was shocked and horrified. No, it can't be. It turned out that Jeff's affair was with Scarlett. I gripped the report, trembling with anger. I checked the recordings and camera footage, and they matched the report. Unforgivable. They've been deceiving me all this time. That night, I called Jeff and Scarlett into the living room. What's this about, all of a sudden? I'm busy right now. You two have something to tell me, don't you? I hoped they'd confess, but they pretended not to know what I was talking about. Even after seeing this, I laid out the report and several photos on the table. Their eyes widened when they saw the photos, but they quickly started laughing mockingly. Oh, so you found out. You never noticed a thing, huh? You're so clueless. Yay, seriously. We've been together since high school, and you never figured it out. Since way back then. I was shocked to learn their relationship had been going on for over 10 years. So the perfume, back then, it was a cover. I was worried when you got mad that time. I thought you might have figured it out. Yeah, we did it to keep you from finding out about us. But you bought the story. Unbelievable. The perfume was just a ploy to hide their affair. I didn't want to believe that two people I cared about could betray me, but seeing their disdainful faces made anger surge within me. Unforgivable. Huh? What are you talking about? I said I will never forgive either of you for betraying me. Ha, we don't need your forgiveness. Scarlett and I are perfect together. You're just useless now, so get out. Yeah, Jeff's been saying it for ages. He doesn't enjoy being with you, Serena. So get out already. At that moment, I made my decision. I thought I would be much angrier, but with the evidence from the investigation and seeing how nonchalant Jeff and Scarlett were, I found myself surprisingly calm. Fine, I'll mail the divorce papers later. Yay, do that. I need to marry Scarlett. Oh, Jeff, you're so sweet. Just don't regret it. Okay. I left the house with those parting words. As I walked out, I could hear Jeff's voice behind me, laughing. Marrying you was the real regret. Once I was out, I called my friend Ellen, who I had already confided in about Jeff's affair. I decided to stay with her for a while. Ellen welcomed me warmly when I arrived with just a few of my belongings. You can cry if you need to, she said gently. And that's when I felt the tears streaming down my cheeks. Of course, it made sense. The shock of discovering that Jeff, whom I had been with for so many years, was having an affair with my own sister, Scarlett, was overwhelming. As Ellen rubbed my back comfortingly, I cried the entire night. The next day, despite my swollen eyes, I decided to go to work. Ellen suggested, "Why don't you take the day off?" But I told her, I still have things to do. When I got to the office, I received a call from Scarlett's company. The call was about the fact that they couldn't reach Scarlett, and her company was in a state of chaos. Apparently, Scarlett was handling a major project at the moment. I understand. I'll try reaching her myself, I said, ending the call before dialing Scarlett's number. But there was no response. Well, given what happened yesterday, it's no surprise she's not picking up, I thought as I sent her a message. However, no matter how many times I called or texted, there was no reply. I assumed she was with Jeff and tried contacting him as well. but the result was the same. I reported back to Scarlett's company, informing them that I couldn't reach her either, and apologizing for the inconvenience. One of the employees approached me and said he had something to discuss about Jeff. For some reason, I had a gut feeling that I needed to hear this, so I took the employee to a conference room. There, I was told a shocking truth. After that, I made a call to a certain place. From then on, I was in daily contact with Scarlett's company, sharing information. But still, there was no word from Scarlett. 5 days after losing contact with both Scarlett and Jeff, I received a message from Ellen saying she had seen a woman who looked like Scarlett. I immediately asked her for the location and informed my workplace before heading there. When I arrived, I saw Jeff and Scarlett entering a hotel together. Watching from a distance, I couldn't help but think that their lives had taken a nosedive in just 5 days. Their clothes were worn out, and they seemed to be sneaking into the hotel, trying not to be seen. At the hotel lobby, I asked for their names and got their room number. Standing outside their room, I took a deep breath. I opened the door forcefully, and they both looked startled. "Oh, it's just Serena. Don't scare us like that." "Yay, you really startled us." The moment they realized it was me, their fear turned into anger. It was as if their frightened expressions from moments ago had been an act. "Well, sorry about that. But Scarlett, why haven't you been going to work?" That's not important right now. Serena, please, help us." "Help you? With what exactly?" Scarlett's anger vanished, and she clung to me, tears welling up in her eyes. "Jeff, he's in so much debt, and he never told me." She started explaining. "Apparently, after they kicked me out, Scarlett moved in with Jeff almost immediately. As soon as they started living together, debt collectors began showing up at the house almost every day. Terrified of staying home, they decided to go on the run, disguising themselves in worn-out clothes and hopping from one hotel to another to evade the collectors." "Serena, do you know what's going on? Do you have any idea? What exactly are you asking about?" "Jeff told me that one of his old portraits sold for $1 million overseas. He said that's why you two were living such a luxurious life." "Hey, Scarlett." "Wait." Jeff's expression turned panic at Scarlett's words. I shot him a cold look as I murmured, "That painting sold for $1 million. Jeff's face went pale, and he began to sweat. "So, Jeff, you bragged about that to Scarlett?" "Well, what's going on?" "Scarlett, I hate to break it to you, but that's not true." "What? That's a lie, isn't it?" Hearing my words, Scarlett glared at Jeff. Since Scarlett seemed to be in the dark, I decided to tell her the truth. "Scarlett, do you know the real reason Jeff quit being a high school teacher?" "What?" "I thought he quit to become an artist." "Well, actually, everyone believed Jeff left teaching to pursue his dream of becoming an artist. But the truth is, he was caught selling forgeries of famous paintings and was on the verge of being sued by the buyers. He managed to settle the issue without involving the police, but the school found out about his actions, and he had no choice but to resign. Well, I only found out about this recently myself." "Even you didn't know, Serena?" "That's right. He told me everything after the fact. One day, he suddenly announced he was quitting teaching to focus on his art." Scarlett was visibly shocked by my explanation. At the time, I had just become an executive at my company, and financially, we were fine. So I thought I'd support Jeff's dream. But then, someone told me the truth. I looked over at Jeff, who remained silent. When he knows he's in the wrong, he usually stays quiet. "Well, he brought this on himself, really. Actually, one of your former students joined my company." "What? A former student?" "Yes, that's who told me. On the day Scarlett and Jeff disappeared, The employee who approached me mentioned he was one of Jeff's former students. He explained what had happened at the time, and that Jeff was still paying back the victims in installments. But with his amateur art skills not bringing in enough money, Jeff eventually turned to illegal loan sharks. Illegal loan sharks. But Jeff is supposed to be a famous and brilliant artist. Well, that's. You told me not to worry about money because you were wealthy. Scarlett's intensity made Jeff flinch. Seeing his reaction, I let out a sigh. I was the one supporting our household. Jeff wasn't contributing. I only found out about the illegal loans through the investigation into his affair. No. But why? Why are the debt collectors suddenly showing up? Oh, that's because. I smiled as I told Jeff and Scarlett the truth. 5 days ago, when neither of you were answering my calls, I contacted the loan sharks mentioned in the report and told them that Jeff might not be able to repay them. What? You didn't? Serena, how could you? They screamed in near panic, clearly not expecting me to have done something like that. Well, either way, if Jeff missed his payments, the debt collectors would have shown up eventually. This just sped things up a bit. My words made their faces fill with despair. As I watched them, I remembered something. Oh, by the way, Scarlett, has Jeff ever given you any branded items? I asked as if the thought had just occurred to me. Caught off guard, Scarlett looked nervous. What are you talking about all of a sudden? Just answer the question. Did he or didn't he? I don't know. No, he didn't. Hearing her answer, I murmured, I thought so. Scarlett tilted her head, looking confused, so I handed her an envelope. The moment she saw the contents, she lunged at Jeff. Hey, what is this? What are you doing, Scarlett? Why are you going to hotels with my subordinates? Scarlett's words made Jeff freeze. He slowly turned his head toward me, his expression turning fearful, but I returned his look with a smile. The envelope I gave Scarlett contained evidence photos showing that Jeff had been cheating on her with several young women besides her, and those women were all employees at Scarlett's company. I had learned this information through the investigator's report. However, I deliberately chose not to tell Scarlett earlier. I couldn't forgive either Jeff or Scarlett. Seems like Jeff didn't really care who it was, as long as they were young. No, Scarlett. It's not what it looks like. I just happened to meet them outside. There's nothing going on. Stop lying. I personally met each of your lovers and heard their stories. Jeff's eyes widened in shock, not expecting me to have taken things that far. One of them shamelessly bragged. The department head said he was a rich artist. Those women. Scarlett's hands balled into fists as she shook with rage. Next to her, Jeff suddenly started laughing. I really thought I'd never get caught. But well, I guess it's out in the open now. What, Jeff? Sure, you're 12 years younger than Serena, and yay, things were great between us. But come on, you should have known when you'd outlived your usefulness. Jeff's attitude shifted as he dropped his pretense. Realizing his true nature, Scarlett's anger boiled over, and she began physically fighting with him. You're the worst kind of scum. Hey, stop it, Scarlett. Shut up. Stay still. Scarlett's strength was overwhelming Jeff. Wait, why are you so strong? Jeff seemed genuinely shocked at how powerful Scarlett was. No wonder. He didn't know that Scarlett had practiced karate up until middle school. Because of you, my life is in ruins. Take responsibility. Help, somebody, help. Jeff tried to run around the room, but it wasn't large enough, so he kept getting cornered. He was screaming, but I had no intention of helping him. Realizing that I wasn't going to intervene, and fearing for his life, Jeff ran out of the room. Naturally, Scarlett chased after him. As they reached the staircase, Scarlett shoved Jeff from behind. He fell, tumbling down the stairs. A cleaner found Jeff lying motionless at the bottom and called the police. The officers arrived quickly, and Scarlett was arrested on charges of assault. Since I was present during the incident, the police questioned me, but after explaining everything that had happened, they quickly released me. Jeff was taken to the hospital by ambulance. He was diagnosed with multiple fractures in both arms and legs due to being pushed down the stairs, resulting in a long hospital stay. While hospitalized, Jeff realized he had no money to pay the insurance premiums since he hadn't been keeping up with them. When we were together, I had managed the payments, so Jeff never had to worry about it. But after our divorce, he was responsible for everything himself, which he failed to do. When he was about to be discharged, he discovered that his insurance wouldn't cover the costs, making him liable for the entire amount. Furious, Jeff tried to cause a scene at the hospital, but he quickly calmed down when the nurse mentioned the word police. With no money, Jeff pleaded with the hospital, saying, "Please, give me time, I'll pay later." Then he waited for me outside my office. "Serena, I know I was wrong. What are you doing here? I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'll spend my life making it up to you. I just need your help." Because of his long hospitalization, Jeff had no income. All the money he had before was from me, yet here he was, asking for more. How shameless. "No. Why should I help you? I've already done so much for you. I'm truly sorry. I beg you. I don't care. Never show your face to me again." I called security to have Jeff removed from the premises. Due to his injuries, he couldn't resist and was escorted out without a fight. As a final remark, I told him, "Why don't you ask your lovers for help?" But apparently, they had all left him. In the end, Jeff couldn't even manage to get a part-time job, ignored the hospital's bills, and was eventually sued. Afterward, I moved out of Ellen's place, where I had been staying, and found a new apartment. Somehow, Scarlett, after being released from custody, found out where I lived and ambushed me at the apartment, begging, "Let me live with you." I refused, telling her, "I have no obligation to you," but she persistently showed up at my workplace. I reported her as a stalker to the police and had her taken away. Once everything finally settled down, I started a new chapter by launching my own company. Now I work every day toward success alongside talented colleagues I confidently selected myself.
Hey, where are you going at this time? As soon as James saw the incoming call on his cell phone, he stopped eating and went back to his room, grabbing his coat to head out. It was supposed to be a rare family time together.
"No, I just got a call from Mom saying she fell at home and can't move, so I need to help her. I'm taking her to the night clinic now. Don't worry about anything, you too."
With that, James rushed out of the house. I just watched him leave as usual, but he has been totally indifferent to Betty so far. And yet, now he's suddenly concerned about Betty. And that phone call, I only saw it for a moment, but the caller ID seemed to be set to private. It doesn't make sense to have your own mother's number on private. His behavior just now raised my suspicions all at once. A few minutes after James left, the doorbell suddenly rang. "Elizabeth, good evening. I heard you were feeling under the weather, so I made some stew and brought it over. What's going on here?" Opening the door, there stood Betty, who was supposed to be unable to move after falling, holding a pot in both hands.
Betty! Just now, James left saying you had fallen and couldn't move."
That's when I was certain. James had lied about Betty being immobile and even trampled on our family time to go somewhere. My name is Elizabeth. Currently, I live with my husband James and our elementary school son Mark, just the three of us. Life hasn't been easy with the recent rise in prices, but we're a close-knit family of three. We met in college, I happened to stop by a cafe where James was working as a waiter. Being shy, I was so nervous about his good looks that I couldn't speak properly as a customer, a memory I still recall. Was this love at first sight? As someone who had never believed in love at first sight, thinking it was more of a superstition, I became confused about what to do. I asked for advice from a high school friend who was experienced in love.
Why don't you just talk to him if you're interested? Otherwise, nothing will start, right?
Through high school, I only had 2 boyfriends, so what my friend was suggesting seemed like a big challenge.
Yeah, I get that, but, you know, I'm shy, and I get even more nervous around him.
I just can't bring myself to speak. After about 10 minutes of thinking, we decided that if I couldn't do it alone, we'd go together. So, after university classes, we headed to the cafe where he was likely to be. When we arrived, I saw him at the register.
Now's your chance to talk to him.
My friend encouraged me as we joined the line to order. Finally, it was my turn. As I approached him, my heart raced even more. He prompted me to order, and I finally spoke up.
I'd like a cafe latte, please. And, would you like to be friends with me?
The first words I managed to muster came out louder than I could control, audible to other customers in line at the cafe. Embarrassed by being overheard, my shyness kicked in, and my face turned beet red. I hastily passed my order and payment to my friend and dashed out of the cafe. I thought it was over. But my boldness turned out to be a good thing. My friend followed me out, and to my surprise, he followed her. It seemed he was curious about my behavior at the cafe, and since he was on his break, he came after us. I managed to exchange contact information with him, and after hanging out as friends for 6 months, I confessed my feelings. He had developed feelings for me too, and we started dating. After years of dating and living together, we decided to get married. Our son Mark was born, and though life is hectic with childcare and housework, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's amazing how the fatigue doesn't matter when you're working for your family. I never thought marriage was for me, but once I had a family, my perspective changed completely. However, there's been one major concern in our marriage. Recently, James has been coming home unusually late. Before, he would let me know when he was leaving work, saying, "I'm heading home now." But lately, there's been no such communication, and coming home in the morning has become the norm. He's never worn cologne before, but sometimes he comes home covered in a sweet scent. I confronted James about it, but he always brushes it off, saying he's tired from work or that it's just business entertainment. I knew I needed to face the truth. But thinking about my family, especially Mark, I couldn't bring myself to consider divorce. The only person I could talk to about this was my mother-in-law, Betty. Despite our age difference, we clicked at a family meeting and have been close ever since, more like friends than in-laws. Betty has always been there for me, listening to my struggles with housework and parenting, always taking my side. But this time, I hesitated to talk to her, fearing it might worry her or add to her stress. A few years ago, during a visit, Betty fell ill. It wasn't serious, but given her age, she couldn't lead the same life as before. When I told James that Betty was unwell, he didn't show any concern and returned the next evening, reeking of perfume, saying he couldn't leave work. I was so angry I was nearly at my breaking point. But Betty, ever calm, simply soothed my anger without a word of complaint. Since Betty's hospitalization and return, I've been helping her with household chores and going shopping together. At first, she seemed guilty for accepting my help, but she warmed up when I told her I wanted to assist.
"Elizabeth, thank you so much. You make every day enjoyable for me." "No, thank you. I've learned so much from you, Betty. I enjoy our talks too."
Betty's simple
"Thank you"
means so much to me, someone who rarely receives gratitude. I've resolved to protect Betty. And it was on one such evening. Today, James came home early for a change, and we were going to have dinner as a family for the first time in a while. When James texted that he was leaving work on time, I was so happy I decided to make an extra dish to celebrate, rummaging through the fridge and cooking with joy. Mark, doing his homework in the living room, noticed my good mood and asked, "Mom, what's up? You seem happy."
Oh, does it show? Well, James is coming home early for once. I'm happy we can have a family dinner together.
Mark's response was lukewarm, perhaps due to his age, but I'm sure he was happy inside. I watched his back as he returned to his homework, and I continued cooking. About 30 minutes later, James came home, and we sat down for a rare family dinner. I made hamburgers at Mark's request and prepared some snacks for James, laying them out on the table. We talked about school, recent events, and other family matters as we ate. Mark, initially aloof, warmed up as the meal progressed, even chatting with James. Family meals like this are so enjoyable. Even if James comes home late, smelling of sweet perfume, moments like this make the bad feelings fade away. I'm realizing that all over again. As we were finishing dinner, James's mobile phone rang, interrupting our family conversation. He glanced at his phone, suddenly stopped eating, and went to his room to grab his coat, as if he was about to leave somewhere. "Hey, where are you going at this time?"
No, I just got a call saying Mom has fallen at home and can't move, so I'm taking her to the night clinic. Don't worry about a thing, both of you.
James said that and left the house in a hurry. I watched him go, even though he never showed any interest in Betty before. It was strange that he suddenly seemed concerned about her. And about that call, I only caught a glimpse, but it looked like the caller ID was set to private. It's odd to have your own mother's number set as private. I was just feeling good about our family time, but his actions raised suspicions. Then, the doorbell rang. "Elizabeth, good evening. I heard you were feeling ill, so I brought some stew. What's going on here?" To my surprise, Betty, who was supposed to be unable to move, stood at the door holding a pot.
Betty! James just left saying you had fallen and couldn't move.
I invited Betty in to compare our stories. According to her, James told her not to come near our house, claiming I was ill and resting. She tried to contact him several times to check on me, but he either dodged the questions or assured her that everything was fine, seemingly trying to keep us apart. Now, I was certain. James lied about Betty being immobile and even trampled on our family time to see someone else. I reached my limit and activated a GPS device I had previously installed in the car for emergencies. According to the GPS, James was heading downtown, likely towards the hotel district. Betty peered over my shoulder at my phone, watching James's GPS movements. "If you want to divorce James, I'll support you. I'm on your side, Elizabeth." Her words lifted a weight off my shoulders. Empowered by Betty's support, I decided to confront James. The GPS showed his location stopped right in front of a hotel, seemingly confirming his infidelity. However, GPS location information isn't always absolute. It's possible that it's slightly off, and he might not be at the hotel. To confirm his whereabouts, I tried calling James, but after a few rings, the call was disconnected without an answer, and when I tried again, the phone was turned off. Although I had some hope when making the call, there's nothing I can do if his phone is off. Let's leave it for now. We'll talk to James when he comes home tomorrow. With that, I ended the day quietly with Mark and Betty. The next morning, before waking up Mark, I checked the living room to see if James had returned, but he hadn't. The quiet living room, lit only by the morning sun through the curtains, was empty. He didn't come back. It's really over, isn't it? As noon approached, James finally returned, still in the same clothes as when he left. "Welcome back, James. We need to talk." "What?" "I'm tired from taking Mom to the night clinic and staying with her. Can we talk later?" James scratched his head and sighed, attempting to head to his room. But Betty appeared behind me and blocked his way.
You said you were taking your mother to the clinic because she couldn't move? Explain exactly what you mean by that.
James's face, which had been calm, suddenly turned pale. Understandably so. He was supposed to have rushed out last night to help his mother, yet here she was, healthy and with me. Unable to say anything, James quietly followed us to the living room, where he saw my parents, who I had called earlier. Realizing the situation, he sat down without being asked and prepared himself to listen.
James, you know why we are all gathered here. Tell us the reason yourself.
Under Betty's intense questioning, James, sweating profusely, hung his head in silence.
If you won't talk, I will. Last night, you said you were taking Betty to the night clinic because she was injured. But actually, you were in the hotel district, weren't you? And I didn't fall or get hurt. You also kept me away from the house, saying Elizabeth was ill. You didn't want me coming over because it was inconvenient, right?
I pulled out my mobile phone and showed the evidence that the last GPS location was a hotel. James was shocked to realize that his location was being shared with me. It had been easy to track James. I've been busy with childcare and housework, and out of good conscience, this was the first time I activated the app because of this incident. James looked at me, wanting to ask how I installed the app, but given the situation, he couldn't bring it up. That makes sense. If he questioned me about it, it would be like admitting he was in a suspicious place. If he doesn't say anything, no matter the evidence, the truth won't be fully revealed. He probably calculated it that way. But Betty and I wouldn't let that strategy work. We were determined to uncover the truth.
James, would you care to explain? No, this is...
Just then, James's phone vibrated with a notification. Seeing his expression cloud over, I quickly grabbed the phone and saw a message from a woman saying, "You forgot something." Attached was a photo of a young woman, probably in her 20s, holding James's coin case.
Who is this young lady? You're not going to say something transparent like she's a junior at work, are you?
James's face turned from pale to white, not expecting such definitive proof from his affair partner. James had been silent, trying to hide the truth, but now there was no escape.
James, call this woman right now. And make sure she explains everything.
Betty's tone was unlike anything I had heard from her before. The words Betty hurled at James were immensely heavy. I got goosebumps from the sheer intensity of it. James, without any resistance to that overpowering presence, obediently called the other woman, putting her on speakerphone so that everyone present could hear the conversation. The woman, named Lisa, sounded like she was in her early 20s, a typical modern girl. Was she really James's type?
You were with James yesterday, weren't you? Did you know he's married, or did you meet him unaware of his marital status?
Yes, I knew.
James told me himself. He's always complaining about his personal life every time we meet at the hotel. Honestly, listening to him has been exhausting. So, you knew he was married, met him at the hotel, and even called him to the hotel district yesterday?
Well, yes, I called him, but he was the one who forgot about the hotel reservation we had.
So I just wanted to know what he planned to do about it.
This meant that James left the house last night because he received a call about an appointment he had forgotten. He chose his affair over family time. The James who used to be kind and cared about his family had changed somehow after marrying me and the birth of Mark. It was more of a feeling of emptiness than sadness or anger. Mom looked puzzled, and Dad seemed ready to punch James any moment.
In truth, I've been aware of James's womanizing for a while now. I kept silent because I didn't want to worry everyone. I thought about divorce, but I didn't want Mark to suffer with a single mother. So that's why you seemed down when you visited me. Did it show on my face?
Not exactly, but I'm a mother too, Elizabeth, and we've known each other for a long time. I just had a feeling you were troubled. I thought I was suppressing these feelings to avoid burdening anyone, but maybe deep down, I was silently crying for help, wanting someone to notice. But now, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I've opened up about my feelings, and everyone understands. It's all been cleared away.
I can't be with someone like you anymore, who has a bad track record with women and doesn't care about his family. I want a divorce.
Finally, I was able to voice my feelings to James. Then, James, who had been silent, finally spoke up with a sigh.
Ha, it's actually your fault, you know? Before we got married, you were all womanly, but after we got married, you lost all your charm. That's why I'm having fun with young, cute girls like Lisa. What's wrong with that?
His brazen defiance and unjustified blame-shifting made my anger boil. The audacity of his claims was infuriating. Certainly, since Mark was born, I've been so busy with housework and childcare that I hardly had any time or energy for myself. But I did it because I believed family happiness was important. I was content not spending time or money on myself if it meant my family could live happily. This man trampled on all those feelings and got caught up with a young girl, putting his family second, if not completely out of his mind. Probably, James thinks that providing money for the house is enough.
Do you have any idea how hard it is to be a mother? I gave up everything to raise you, doing housework and childcare. James, you really are a hopeless man. James, that's too much. You've gone too far.
Despite the severe criticism from everyone, James, who had completely defiant, showed no damage, leaning back in his chair and fiddling with his mobile phone. There was no sign of remorse. No, even if he did feel remorse, it wouldn't make a difference now, but you'd think our words would at least resonate with him a little. However, there was no sign of that in James. The conversation that started in the afternoon continued for hours, and Mark came home from school.
I'm home. Oh, why is everyone here?
Hey Mark. Welcome back. Listen to this. Mark gave James, who clung to him, a cold look. Please don't touch me.
I can't think of a person who meets other women outside and neglects our family and hurts Mom as my dad.
Mark, despite his young age, seemed to understand everything. Everyone was surprised by his words. We never mentioned James's infidelity to anyone, let alone within the family. In fact, we never even discussed James's womanizing behavior. But somehow, Mark knew about James's affairs.
Mark! Are you going to abandon me too? Who raised you and bought you everything you wanted? It was me, right?
No, Mom raised me. She made meals even when she was busy.
Sure, the money was yours, but everything I wanted was bought by Mom. That's thanks to me, isn't it? Who do you think allows you to live in this house and have a comfortable life? It's all because of my hard work. Show some gratitude.
At James's words, show some gratitude. I found myself moving unconsciously, and before I knew it, I had slapped James across the face with force.
How dare you say show some gratitude? Do you know how much I've struggled, keeping our finances in order for our future, cleaning the lipstick off your suit collars? Suit collars? You can't mean.
I fetched a shirt from the laundry basket and threw it at James, now collapsed on the floor.
Do you know? Lipstick on a shirt comes off when you gently hand wash it in warm water and then apply detergent directly to the stain. I learned that to clean up after your affairs. Have you ever thought about how I felt doing that? Of course, you haven't.
After my outburst, I suddenly caught my breath. On the floor lay James, holding his red and swollen cheek, looking up at me. How much had I suffered for this man?
By now, even you must understand, right? Divorce Elizabeth immediately. And as an apology for all the stress you've caused, vow never to contact her, me, or us ever again. Don't come near Mom, me, or even Grandpa and Grandma anymore. You've never been, and certainly aren't now, my dad. Just get out.
With Mark also abandoning him, James, who thought he had an ally in his son, lost his place. I demanded a divorce and compensation, declaring that he would never get custody of Mark. My parents refused any further contact with James and deleted his information, while Betty, even though he was her only son, decided to cut ties right there. James, rejected by everyone, left the house without much resistance, walking towards the bustling streets under the evening sky. Later, I learned that Lisa, his affair partner, was also married and facing a hefty compensation claim from her husband. It seemed unlikely that young Lisa could afford it, but that was her problem. James signed the divorce papers without hesitation and agreed to pay alimony and child support until Mark graduated from high school. But this drastically changed his comfortable, somewhat extravagant lifestyle. Now living in an old apartment on the outskirts of town, he struggles financially. Mainly because he never learned to cook and resorts to fast food and instant noodles. All of this is a result of James's own actions, his fault. I decided to move back to my parents' house in Dallas with Mark. Though it meant changing schools for personal reasons, Mark agreed without complaint, which was a relief. Mark's friends looked a bit sad, but Mark, having matured a bit through this incident, comforted them, saying, "I'll definitely come to visit." Despite being the one transferring, I am proud of how strong my son has grown. Betty and I remained close even after the divorce. Despite initially refusing, I accepted some financial help from her, as she insisted on supporting us due to her son's actions. This helped us avoid financial difficulties. Now, we sometimes have dinner together, and Betty even sends gifts for Mark's birthday. Mark seems happy, surrounded by many people. With my parents helping out on weekdays, I've returned to my pre-marriage pharmacy job and am enjoying fulfilling workdays. Now when I come home, Mark and my parents welcome me. Surrounding the dinner table with my family is my happiest moment. Your land is now my land. I already requested the construction.
What? But that land is…
My surprise was cut short as my mother-in-law Madison, with her shrill voice, interrupted me.
A wife who talks back to her husband is unwanted. All you need to say is understood and keep it at that.
Facing Madison's triumphant expression, I was at a loss for words. That land had already been leased to a corporation, with plans for an apartment building underway. The rent for the land was supposed to be deposited next month. I had made sure to inform Kevin about this.
Madison, about that land. You just need to keep quiet. Understood?
Every time I tried to tell the truth, Madison would shout over me. Finally, my anger erupted. Understood. While looking at my in-laws and husband smiling with satisfaction, I cursed them in my mind. Just wait and see. I can't wait to see you come begging. My name is Grace. I'm a 45-year-old housewife. Using my experience from studying abroad for 2 years during college, I've been a teacher at a German language school for adults and have worked there for 23 years now. Interacting with many students has been very fulfilling. My husband, Kevin, is also 45. He joined as a student at the German language school, which is how we met. Of course, I had no intention of getting involved with a student, so I rejected all the times he asked me out on a date during his enrollment, but Kevin persisted even after leaving the school, and, eventually, I was won over and we started dating. Kevin was very gentlemanly during our dates, and our relationship progressed smoothly. After dating for about 2 years, I accepted his proposal, and we got married when I was around 30. However, as soon as we got married, Kevin's attitude changed 180 degrees, as if to show he didn't value what he had obtained, turning into a classic henpecked husband. At first, we fought often, but I didn't have the energy or willpower to argue every day, so I mostly gave in, and that became the norm. Kevin has a younger sister, Mia, 5 years his junior, who seemed to keep her distance from the family home. My first impression during our greeting was that she was a straightforward woman, but according to Kevin, she was a stubborn and spoiled person for a woman. Thus, my interactions with Mia were minimal, and even after several years of marriage, we only saw each other possibly during Christmas. 10 years into our marriage, at the age of 40, Kevin and I still hadn't had children. I had gone through examinations at a gynecologist at the in-laws' insistence, but there was nothing wrong with me. However, as soon as I reported this, Kevin became furious.
Are you trying to say it's my fault?
No, that's not what I mean. I tried to clarify, but Kevin wouldn't listen and threw the remote control against the wall beside me.
Don't you get cocky with me. I'm never going to the doctor's. It's obviously your fault. Change the clinic. Don't ever go back there again. Got it?
Kevin then stormed out of the house, taking only his wallet and mobile phone. I picked up the broken remote, tears streaming down my face. This wasn't the marriage I had dreamed of, but still, I chose not to divorce, perhaps because of the fond memories I had with the kind Kevin. Eventually, at 43, the in-laws said that having a child at my age would look bad, and I gave up on the idea of having children. Even when I told Kevin, he didn't seem to care, making me realize I was the only one bothered by it. Kevin and I live about a 5-minute walk from the in-laws' house, and they visit our home about 3 times a week. Honestly, I'm not fond of the in-laws. My mother-in-law Madison constantly makes backhanded comments, and father-in-law John always talks about my appearance and our sex life.
Like someone important once said, as you get older, your eggs deteriorate or something. I'm not saying Grace's eggs have deteriorated. But after 40, well, if anything happens, it would be a problem for us too, right?
It's fine, isn't it? Even if they have deteriorated, Grace's body has something appealing about it, so Kevin, you still enjoy it, right? Oh, stop it, John. No one would feel good being around such vulgar conversations. I served coffee in silence, hoping the in-laws would leave soon.
Look, I had Kevin when I was 20 and Mia at 25. Oh, not that being young is everything, but recovery after childbirth is definitely quicker when you're younger, right?
You do look very young.
No way. I mean, compared to the moms of Kevin's classmates, I might be on the younger side.
I forced a smile at Madison, who seemed utterly pleased with herself for just being mentioned. Madison took pride in having had Kevin young and liked to make a point of being younger than others around her. And if someone didn't agree or play along, she'd treat them coldly, as if they were in the wrong. So, every time we met, I had to play along with Madison's reckless self-promotion. Honestly, Madison's appearance isn't that great. She's of average height and build, with natural curly hair, just a typical grandmother you'd find anywhere. She looks older than she is, and if someone guessed she was 70, it would be believable. Yet, she seems unaware, genuinely believing she's a hidden gem, almost a witch of beauty.
Well, it's sad we won't see cute grandchildren, but it's better than having useless ones added. Yeah, if we don't have kids, they'd probably take care of us instead.
The living room, filled with crude words, felt incredibly uncomfortable despite being my own home. And the in-laws would leave after saying whatever they wanted to say, feeling satisfied. Then one day, I got a call from Dad. It was about my paternal grandfather's passing and that I was included in the will. Dad's family was considered one of the notable families in the area. As the youngest with 5 older siblings, Dad didn't inherit much and lived doing what he wanted. So, our family wasn't particularly wealthy. However, being the only grandchild, my grandfather left me a piece of land. The inheritance included the land and some cash for expenses related to inheriting it. Even after paying inheritance tax, the amount was more than enough to live comfortably, making me wonder if it was all a dream. But the land was too large to build a house on, and I wasn't confident about using it wisely. Dad suggested renting it out to a company interested in building an apartment. Just the land rent would allow me to live freely without worrying about management. Since it wasn't expected to be inherited and no one in the family was particularly attached to it, the decision to lease it out was made quickly. I informed Kevin about this. He seemed to have started to think about something, but only replied one word.
Understood.
And then went back to reading his book alone. I thought that was the end of the discussion, but it turned out Kevin had his own plans, which came to light unexpectedly one day. It happened during a weekend, with the in-laws over at our house as usual. Ignoring me cleaning up the kitchen alone, Kevin suddenly spoke up while snacking on the coffee and cookies I had served.
Your land is now my land. I already requested the construction. What? But that land is...
My surprise was cut off by Madison's shrill voice interrupting.
A wife who talks back to her husband is unwanted. All you need to say is understood and keep it at that.
I didn't know what to say to Madison, looking victorious. That land was already leased to a corporation, with plans for an apartment building underway. The rent for the land was supposed to be deposited next month. I had made sure to inform Kevin about this.
Madison, about that land.
You just need to keep quiet. Understood? Every time I tried to tell the truth, Madison would shout over me. Finally, my anger erupted. Understood. While looking at my in-laws and my husband smiling with satisfaction, I cursed them in my mind. Just wait and see. I can't wait to see you come begging. I decided to do something I had been hesitating about for a long time. Renew my long-expired passport and get in touch with a friend living abroad. My friend was surprised when I told them about my plan, but they agreed to help. It was a bit tough to carefully proceed with the plan before Kevin found out about the land, but thinking about my bright future made it enjoyable. Just when everything was ready, Kevin received a call from the construction company about the land. One day, when he came back from work, he stood at the entrance, furious.
You tricked me.
With that one sentence, I knew exactly what he was talking about. Trying hard to keep my face from showing anything, I answered Kevin. What are you talking about? He seemed to really dislike my response. Shaking with anger, Kevin glared at me.
It's about that land. I got a call from the construction company. They can't take our request because there's another building plan in motion.
Is that so? I thought I told you.
What? A wife is supposed to follow what her husband decides, right? Stop the apartment building project immediately. You said understood, didn't you?
His selfish reasoning left me with nothing but a sigh, tired from work. Kevin, grabbing my collar and threatening me. Didn't scare me at all since everything was already prepared.
There's nothing I can do. That place has already been leased out to a company. What?
I told you, didn't I?
The land is in my name, but the construction on it is under the company's name. It's a leasehold. I receive the land rent and don't get involved with the building. I explained this, but you didn't understand, did you?
Kevin, failing to comprehend, let go of me and looked stunned. Facing him directly, I continued.
So, let's get a divorce. What? Why would it come to that? Are you serious?
Kevin finally seemed to realize I was quietly furious and started to panic. Seeing his pitiful state, I entered the house and moved to the living room. Kevin, following me and trying to gauge my mood, seemed smaller despite being bigger than me.
Grace, I'll respect your plan this time, so please reconsider the divorce.
Even now, Kevin's condescending tone made me look at him with contempt. He was completely intimidated by my gaze.
Why should I need your respect for decisions about the land I inherited? What? Well, you seem to be misunderstanding something. That land is mine. I'm the one inherited the land. You have no right to dictate anything about it.
Kevin was quiet for a while as he listened to me, but as soon as he heard he had no rights, he lashed out.
Disrespecting your husband like that, who do you think is providing for you? Oh, since we split all living and housing expenses equally, I'm living on my own money. What? Did you not realize that?
You really weren't interested, were you? I pulled out the household ledger and opened it to this month's page. Kevin contributed $1,000, and I also added $1,000, making $2,000 for living expenses. Plus, I pay the rent for our apartment and utilities from my account. Which means while saying it's a split, I'm paying more.
As you can see, I can live on my own, and being with you just means I'm paying unnecessary money. That's a lie. But you've been using more than $2,000 for your allowance while only contributing $1,000 to the house since we got married. That's because Mom said that was enough. There it is, always Mom, Mom. So annoying, you mama's boy. Mama's boy.
Kevin, taken aback by my words, looked incredulous. To anyone looking in, Kevin, who always discusses everything with his mom and expects her support as a matter of course, is a perfect example of a mama's boy. Yet, he seemed to have no self-awareness of this fact.
Anyway, if you're going to continue living there, you'll need to start paying for it yourself. I've already changed the withdrawal account, so as of today, I'm leaving this place and won't pay anything. What do you mean you're leaving?
Ignoring Kevin's words, I took the suitcase I had prepared earlier out of the closet and headed for the entrance. In fact, I had already moved out my belongings. I had been moving them out little by little without being noticed, and Kevin hadn't realized it at all. It was a bit sad to think he was that uninterested in me, but honestly, it worked out for the best. Kevin followed me to the entrance, watching me leave the house in a panic. In front of him, I took off my wedding ring and placed it on the shoe cabinet.
Are you really leaving? You'll regret this.
I'd regret more staying with you.
What about my meals? Are you serious? Make them yourself.
I was utterly astounded that Kevin was worried about his meals at a time like this. He looked utterly natural, expecting me to cater to him, but when I firmly responded, he was in shock and froze. Not wanting to look at Kevin's face even for a second longer, I left the house I had lived in for 15 years. I was busy with preparations for the next few days, running around for procedures and whatnot. Then I received a call from Madison. Reluctantly answering, I heard her shrill voice through the phone.
What's this about the land being used for an apartment building? And divorcing Kevin after enduring 15 years when you could have left after 3 years without children, how ungrateful can you be? Madison, the apartment was already decided. The divorce from Kevin is due to a lack of trust, and the reason we didn't have children is that Kevin didn't cooperate with fertility treatments.
That boy is healthy. Funny, so am I. Madison screamed in frustration over the phone, and I found her cartoonish yelling somewhat amusing.
Anyway, I'll be seeking compensation from you for deceiving us and for making Kevin sad. Make sure you pay for what you've done. Enough with the Kevin. I'm giving Kevin back to you, so please enjoy each other's company forever. And the compensation should come from Kevin. I'll have my lawyer contact you, so don't run away, please pass that message. You're the wife, how dare you talk like that?
Madison kept screaming, but I hung up without caring. I was amazed at how much I could say once I had let go, and it felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. A month after leaving the house, it was finally time to discuss the divorce. The lawyer said the basic conditions were set, but Kevin wouldn't sign the divorce papers until he saw me. Reluctantly, we arranged to meet at a restaurant for the discussion. The in-laws stubbornly suggested their house, but I insisted on a private room in a restaurant. Meeting the in-laws and Kevin, their unnaturally cheerful faces made me suspect they were plotting something. Grace, it's been a while. Have you been well?
Yes, thanks to you.
As I responded, Madison approached with a sweet voice.
Grace, I'm sorry for everything. Let's talk about the future today.
That sounds good. I had a hunch about what the in-laws and Kevin were planning. Probably something like divorcing in exchange for a portion of the land rent. As expected, Madison mentioned the inheritance as soon as we sat down. Do you know the land value of that place?
I'm aware. I was shocked. And you're also receiving a proper amount of money, right? We need to properly distribute the property.
Madison's shallow words made me laugh out loud. Madison, initially stunned by my laughter, quickly turned red and glared at me.
What's so funny? Madison, it seems you don't know. The inheritance I received doesn't become marital property. What?
Madison let out a strange noise and widened her eyes. It seems she was blinded by the amount of money and didn't bother to check such basic things.
So, we don't get anything?
That's right. After my words, Madison let out a silent scream and slumped in defeat. From her outfit, it was clear she had planned to live lavishly off my inheritance. The fact that I could hear them worrying about payments was proof enough.
Aren't you going to support your husband's home as his wife?
John, who had been silent until now, spoke up, and I gave him a cold look. Then, without a word, I pressed a button on my mobile phone. John's crude remarks started playing back.
John who says such things, Madison who goes along with it without stopping him, and a husband who turns a blind eye to it all. I don't need any of you. I will live my life. Do you think you can just do as you please? If necessary, we can take this to court. This will be submitted as evidence. If you do that, my reputation will. Well, it will be socially troublesome for you.
John was left speechless, slumping just like Madison. With the noisy bystanders finally quiet, I turned to Kevin. Kevin, pale-faced, seemed to have an idea. I'll help manage the money since it'll be tough on you alone. You can do whatever you like with it. How about that?
Why would I have to involve you in anything after the divorce? I already have someone to discuss the inheritance with.
Come in. As I called out, a woman entered. Kevin looked at her in surprise.
It's been a while, big brother.
It turned out that Mia had connections with my overseas friend while I was planning things. My friend told me the in-laws favored Kevin, treating Mia harshly. Kevin accepted this treatment without protest, benefiting from the situation and even blaming Mia for his own actions. Kevin went to private schools, while Mia was only allowed to go to a public high school and received no financial help for college. Mia worked through college, becoming a freelance writer after graduation. Just as her career was taking off, the in-laws started asking for financial support, coinciding with my marriage to Kevin, which surprised me. Since then, Mia and I have been in touch. And now we have become close friends.
Mia and I have hit it off, and she'll be helping me with the German language school I'm planning to start abroad.
Abroad?
What can you do overseas? Have you forgotten my job? I studied abroad for 2 years and speak German daily at work. I've always planned to go abroad if it weren't for our marriage. What about me? I don't speak German. Do you understand what divorce means? It means I'm stopping living life with you.
Oh. Kevin finally grasped the situation, his face turning pale. I took the filled-out divorce papers from Kevin, who was now silent, and left the restaurant with Mia and my lawyer. I submitted the divorce papers to the office and moved abroad. My belongings were already at the new home, so I could start my new life without any issues. I'm room sharing with Mia, respecting each other's work. Mia is becoming a successful writer, working towards her dream of being a novelist. Seeing her work so hard on writing stories in her spare time from work, I feel like I need to try my best as well. Kevin stayed in our old apartment for a while, but had to leave due to lack of savings and the alimony payments. Back at the in-laws' house, he's consumed by their demands, left with no money and exhausted from taking over the chores Madison abandoned. The in-laws also might soon lose their home too without Mia's support. Drop dead. Mia simply said so, upon their pleas for help. As for me, I've opened my dream German language school, which is thriving. My students are enthusiastic, filled with hope for their future in Germany. Today, we'll learn about greetings. I stand at the podium with a smile, loving this confident version of myself, filled with hope for the future. Too bad. I'll give you as much money for compensation as you want, you poor thing. You know that Mary is the one who's the CEO, right? I'm Mary. I've been married to my husband David for 2 years. We both work and are so busy that we hardly have time to talk except on weekends, but our relationship is strong, and we go on an overseas trip together once a year. When we got married, we decided to build a new house and splurged on a mansion. I'm satisfied with our current life. I have a good friend from high school named Emma, and we occasionally go out for lunch together. Emma has high standards for men and isn't married yet, but she has a strong desire to marry. Especially, she won't compromise on finding someone with a high income. Hey, can I come over to your house sometime? And right now, I'm having lunch with my friend Emma for the first time in a while. We've both been busy and haven't been able to meet often, but we've kept in touch through calls and messages. Today, our schedules aligned. Emma and I have been close friends since high school, sharing everything about each other. Both the good times and the hard times, they all have become fond memories. Since marrying my husband 2 years ago and becoming busier at work, I've had less time to see Emma. My husband usually has weekends off, but due to the nature of his sales job, working on holidays isn't unusual. He was busy with work, and I was figuring out how to spend my free time alone when Emma contacted me, leading to this moment. Sure, my place is close by. How about we have tea at my house after this?
Really? I'd love to.
After getting married, my husband and I built a house, but since I usually met Emma outside, this was the first time I invited her over. After finishing lunch, we headed to my house. Upon arrival, Emma was amazed.
Wow, this place is a mansion. Amazing.
When we built our house, we didn't hold back because it was a once-in-a-lifetime purchase, resulting in a house larger than the average family home. Being new, the interior was still pristine, and Emma seemed to love it.
We splurged a bit. It's our dream house, after all. It's so spacious and beautiful. Must have cost a fortune?
It was a big purchase, but it's our home. Cost us about $1 million. Emma was shocked at that.
$1 million? Is David's salary that high?
Emma has always had high standards for men, particularly regarding income. Her question seemed to stem from those values.
David's salary? Well, it's pretty good for his age, I guess.
I tried to answer without giving specifics, to avoid any offense. I see. I didn't realize at the time, but this vague response was a sign of things to come. Unaware of Emma sneering behind my back, I went on to prepare the tea in the living room.
Hey, since I'm here, can I stay until David comes home so I can say hi?
Emma asked with a smile, teacup in hand. Seeing no reason to refuse, I happily agreed.
Great. Where's the bathroom?
This way. I showed Emma to the bathroom and waited for her in the living room. In the meantime, I messaged my husband that Emma was visiting and suggested we have dinner together.
Wait, that's my bag.
I got lost coming out of the bathroom. Ended up touring the house and found this. This brand's really expensive, right? Mind if I borrow it for a while? It wasn't that far from the bathroom to the living room. She probably wanted to see the house, but the bag Emma had was supposed to be in my bedroom. Realizing she had entered my bedroom without permission was unsettling. But I didn't make a fuss and reluctantly agreed to lend her the bag.
Okay, but you must return it. It's a gift from my husband.
Of course, don't worry, I will. Later, feeling a bit uneasy, I checked the bedroom while I was supposed to go to the bathroom. Nothing seemed ransacked, but it looked like the closet had been rummaged through, with bags and shoes slightly scattered. I decided to mention it to Emma when I returned to the living room. Emma, you went into the bedroom, right? Seems like you went through the closet too. I'd rather you didn't do that. When I looked Emma in the eye and spoke, her eyebrows twitched momentarily. You're right. Sorry. Won't do it again.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
While we were talking, my husband came home. I had told him in advance that Emma was visiting, so perhaps out of consideration, he brought home a cake. I'm home.
Welcome back. Thanks for the cake. This is my friend Emma. I mentioned her in a message. How about the three of us have dinner together?
Nice to meet you, Emma. Mary always speaks highly of you. Of course, I'd love to. Nice to meet you too. I'm sorry I couldn't attend your wedding, but I'm happy to meet you like this. Emma had been ill and couldn't attend our wedding, so this was her first meeting with my husband. After dinner, we enjoyed the cake my husband had bought with some tea. Emma's friendly nature meant she quickly got along with my husband, and the evening ended on a high note. About a month later, I started noticing changes in my husband. He would quickly look away during conversations and spent more time on his phone. He even started taking it to the bathroom and shower. It was an obvious change. I considered checking his phone at one point, but decided against it, feeling there wouldn't be anything pleasing to find. However, his behavior was typical of someone hiding something, and I couldn't help but suspect him. Our conversations at home became increasingly rare. Furthermore, his weekend work increased, and we began living like ships passing in the night. One day, I came home to find divorce papers on the table. Though I had anticipated it, seeing the filled-out papers still shook me. I immediately called my husband.
I just got home and saw the table. What's this about?
It means what it says.
I want a divorce. I knew something was off, but tell me why. I've fallen in love with someone else. Are you saying you've been cheating?
It's not cheating. I've seriously fallen for her. Though it might seem like cheating to you.
How is it not cheating? Does she know you're married?
She knows, but... My husband hesitated, making it clear we needed a face-to-face conversation. As I was about to speak, "Hello, Mary? It's me." A familiar voice replaced my husband's.
Emma? Yes. I'm dating David. And we want to get married.
Hearing this, I felt despair. My heart raced, and I felt incredibly upset.
What do you mean, get married? David is my husband.
I fell for him the moment I met him at your house. We exchanged contacts and started talking, and things escalated.
What do you mean escalated? What are you thinking?
Anger, emptiness, and sadness overwhelmed me, leaving me speechless. I know it's bad. But what can we do? We were meant to be.
I'm grateful to you for bringing us together,
Emma said without a hint of remorse, even though she claimed to feel bad. Her voice, instead, sounded defiant. I could never forgive the betrayal of my husband and a friend I had been close with since our student days.
You don't really feel bad, do you? Let me speak to my husband instead.
David said there's nothing left to talk about. Can you just sign the divorce papers and submit them as soon as possible?
How can I agree to anything without a proper conversation? Tell him to come home at once.
What? That's impossible. He's living with me now.
There's nothing to talk about, right? You just need to sign the divorce papers.
I felt nothing but suspicion and irritation towards Emma, who answered nonchalantly as if she either wanted to provoke me or bore some grudge against me.
Just put my husband on the phone.
My loud demand didn't faze Emma, who just scoffed and replied mockingly.
Whatever you say, it's not going to happen. Bye.
Holding the phone after she unilaterally ended the call, I stood there dumbfounded for a while. The sleepless nights continued, and my husband didn't come back during that time. The divorce papers left on the living room table seemed to be waiting for my signature. Emma kept sending me multiple photos of her and my husband together, as if to flaunt their close relationship. My mental health deteriorated to the point where it began to affect my job. So I decided it was time to seriously consider divorce and consulted a lawyer. I had a lawyer acquaintance whom I decided to consult. After setting up an appointment, I met with the lawyer and explained my situation.
It must have been tough.
My lawyer listened attentively to my story. What would you like to do? My lawyer asked, and to my surprise, my answer came more easily than I thought.
I want a divorce. But I want them to be properly punished.
That's understandable. Let's make sure to claim compensation. We can't let the evidence they've been so kind to send us go to waste. Right. I'll claim compensation from my husband and Emma and make a clean break. Thank you for your help. Leave it to me. And, although it might be unnecessary to say, try to eat well and get enough sleep to take care of your health. Thank you. After talking with the lawyer, I decided to take the necessary steps to move on. They say time heals all wounds, and I'm starting to look forward a bit more each day. Recently, I've been able to eat meals I couldn't before and sleep without an issue. The only thing I'm losing is my husband. I have nothing else to lose or worry about. Having gone through this, I'm sure something good is waiting for me next. This thought gave me some energy. And then a few days later, Emma contacted me again. Hey, are you still clinging to the past?
I want you to hurry up and get the divorce. Completely unapologetic. What's wrong with you? I'm preparing for the divorce, so tell that to my husband.
That's a lie, right? You think David is coming back, don't you? I know what you're clinging to. It's David's income, isn't it?
Income?
Yeah, he's the CEO with an annual revenue of $500 billion. You were hiding that from me because you knew this would happen if I got involved, didn't you?
My husband is the CEO with an annual revenue of $500 billion?
Don't pretend you didn't know. That's why you could afford such a mansion.
Did he tell you that?
Yes, he told me everything. So hurry up and leave that house. It's going to be mine now. Too bad David won't be coming back. I'll give you as much compensation as you want, you poor thing. After saying that unilaterally, Emma hung up the phone. Now I understood why Emma targeted my husband. This call from Emma completely cooled off my feelings for my husband, and I started to think about life after divorce. From the next day on, I felt much clearer in my mind. In a way, I might have Emma to thank for that. The couple photos she sent today only disgust me now. Everything she sent was shared with my lawyer. After recovering from my illness and solving work problems, my usual routine finally returned. All that was left was to settle things with my husband and Emma. My lawyer had sent them the documents on my behalf. Now, we just had to wait for their response. A few days later, a reaction came swiftly.
Hey! What were you thinking sending documents to my company?
Emma was furious, her anger echoing.
So, you were harassing me without being prepared for the consequences? Just sharing a bit of mine and David's happiness with you. It wasn't harassment. No, it definitely counts as harassment. Please, talk to my lawyer from now on. Goodbye. Hey!
I hung up the phone right there. I felt a sense of relief knowing she was sufficiently rattled. Emma's calls continued, but I never picked up again. Similarly, my husband tried calling, and when he realized I wasn't answering, he resorted to messaging, complaining about documents sent to his parents' house, which exposed the affair and led to their condemnation. His messages were selfish and told me to tell his parents that it was all a lie. My disdain for my husband only grew. Returning home, having dinner, bathing, and going to the bedroom, I noticed something was off. Opening the closet, I saw that some of my bags and accessories were missing. Specifically the branded ones. I could think of only one suspect.
You've got to be kidding, she went as far as to steal?
I immediately informed my lawyer, who said we would need evidence to pursue this. Evidence. That's when I remembered installing security cameras around the house as a security measure when we built it. I had forgotten about them since I never had to use them before. Checking one of the cameras, I found it had recorded everything clearly. I reviewed footage from all the cameras in the house and, to my astonishment, I saw Emma stealing my branded items over several days while I was away. I was horrified. To think I was friends with such a person filled me with fear. The next day, I took the video data to my lawyer, who was also appalled. This person is incredible in a way, boldly stealing from someone else's home. This will certainly serve as evidence. But this will be a separate case from the divorce, is that okay? It's a criminal matter. Yes, please proceed with everything you have. I said, smiling eerily calm. After all that had happened, why should I hold back? It was time for her to take responsibility for her actions. Understood. But I do recommend changing your locks. Taking my lawyer's advice to heart, I changed the locks that very day. After that, I received a barrage of calls from both my husband and Emma, which I completely ignored. They even came to my house directly, but I didn't hesitate to call the police. Eventually, the calls from my husband and Emma stopped. A few days later, my lawyer mentioned that they wanted to negotiate a settlement. Asked what I wanted to do, I agreed to a discussion, provided my lawyer was present. I was busy and wanted to settle this quickly. The lawyer arranged the date. And on the day, we met in a conference room at the lawyer's office. Emma and my husband burst into the room, opening the door aggressively.
Finally, we meet, you coward.
Stop it, Emma.
It's because she's been running away. Because of you, our wedding's been postponed.
Emma was ready to throw something at me, anger radiating from her as she yelled. My husband desperately tried to calm her down. Seeing them after so long, I felt pathetic for having to deal with such people.
Please calm down. If any violence or abusive language is detected, we will immediately call the police, understood?
The lawyer managed to settle them down for a moment, and Emma and my husband finally took their seats. With everyone ready, the discussion began.
David, you wish for a divorce, correct? We agree to the divorce. However, considering your relationship began as an affair, we will be seeking compensation. Do you have any objections? If it means getting a divorce, fine by me. But after paying the compensation, I want nothing to do with you ever again. Mary, is that acceptable to you?
Of course.
I have no interest in continuing any relationship with him either.
I stated calmly, noticing my husband's slight disturbance. But I didn't care about that anymore.
Next, regarding the amount of compensation.
When the lawyer started to talk about the compensation amount, Emma joined the conversation.
I said any amount is fine. We have a ton of money anyway.
Emma crossed her arms and spoke arrogantly. Hearing this, the lawyer adjusted his glasses.
A ton of money, you say?
Yes.
Aren't you a lawyer?
Didn't you check?
David is the CEO of a company with annual sales of $500 billion. Compensation for an affair is not a problem at all. I'll even give you a fair share of the property. Your salary must barely cover your living expenses.
Emma said this confidently, laughing, and the lawyer, unable to hold back, burst into laughter. Emma looked displeased at the sight.
What's so funny? Are you mocking me?
Emma said, shaken, to the lawyer who was drying his tears with a handkerchief, trying to compose himself.
My apologies. I see it now. It all makes sense.
The lawyer put down his handkerchief, looked at Emma, and smiled.
The CEO is Mary, you know? David is just an ordinary employee there. What?
Emma looked puzzled for a moment, but soon crossed her arms and sneered.
So the lawyer hired by a fool is also a fool. Get real. Did Mary lie to you saying she was the CEO? How sad. I should be the one saying that you. Did you verify your side of the story?
The lawyer turned to David, who looked pale. Seeing this, Emma, perhaps feeling anxious, started to press David.
You said you were the CEO of a company with annual sales of $500 billion, right? You weren't lying, were you?
David said nothing. Just looked down, pale. Seeing this, Emma gradually turned pale as well.
Answer me. You weren't lying, right? You said you were the CEO of a company with annual sales of $500 billion?
Emma shook her David's shoulder, but he just muttered. Sorry. This apology plunged Emma into despair. Emma, trembling, turned to face me and stood up, slamming the desk.
That's a lie, right? There's no way you're the CEO. I was the closest to you, so there's no way I wouldn't know.
Emma, still standing, turned her gaze from David to me and now started accusing me. So I decided to tell her the truth.
Just because we're best friends doesn't mean we share everything. Especially not our incomes. And it's precisely because I was close that I knew how greedy you were with money. That's why I never intended to tell you.
I looked straight at Emma, without averting my eyes, and told her this. Emma, unable to hide her shock, sat down on the spot.
Then, that house is… Of course, it's in my name. So the one leaving is my husband, no, David. He's not going to be my husband anymore.
Emma fell silent at those words.
Now that everything is clear, we will claim a reasonable amount of compensation.
My lawyer said, but neither David nor Emma seemed to hear, both remaining silent.
Next, regarding the theft.
The lawyer continued unemotionally, despite the couple's demeanor. It was quite satisfying to listen to. At the mention of theft, the couple finally looked up.
Theft? Yes. You stole several brand items from Mary when she wasn't home, didn't you?
Confronted about the theft, Emma bit her lower lip. David, apparently unaware of the incident, looked surprised.
Hey! What's this theft about? It wasn't me. I don't know anything.
Emma desperately pretended not to know, but then the lawyer presented photos from the surveillance footage.
What's this? A footage from the surveillance camera. A surveillance camera?
Emma seemed to be unaware of the surveillance cameras. Had she known, she wouldn't have dared to steal so boldly. The husband covered his face with his hands and sighed.
Our house is equipped with surveillance cameras. We installed them for security, since we bought quite a nice house. Why didn't you say that sooner? Who would think you'd break in to steal? Plus, it means you stole the keys from me. I thought I had lost them. I wanted those brand items. You wouldn't buy them for me.
So the two started arguing. Both the lawyer and I sighed in disbelief.
Please save your quarrels for later. As for the theft, we plan to file a police report. That concludes our discussion.
Hearing the word police, Emma visibly panicked.
Police is such an exaggeration. I just borrowed something from a friend. You can't possibly file a police report, right? I didn't lend it, and I no longer consider you a friend. I will file a report. After all, it was stolen. No! I'll compensate. Just don't call the police.
Are you going to compensate?
The brand items you stole are worth a considerable amount, you know.
Are you sure you can cover that?
Plus, there's also the compensation.
When I said this, Emma, thinking she had found a way out, turned to David.
Hey, even if you're not the CEO, you're still working, so you can pay, right? We're going to be fine, right?
David just looked down and remained silent at Emma's words.
He doesn't have the ability to pay. After all, he's been absent without contacting the company, so he's going to be fired. What? I told you he worked at my company. Ever since he started having an affair with you, his unexcused absences increased. I've been notified. There's no way we could keep such an employee, right? But there's still the division of assets. With that division of assets won't be possible. Why not? The savings accumulated as a married couple should be part of the division of assets. Aren't you a lawyer? Don't you know that? Have you not heard anything from David? You said he told you everything, yet you missed the important parts.
Then, the lawyer presented a document.
As per the prenuptial agreement, if the marriage doesn't last 3 years, neither party can claim the other's assets. Since they're currently in the 2nd year of marriage, this applies.
Emma trembled as she took the document.
Like this piece of paper has any power. That is a notarized document, so it has legal force. However, it only means no division of assets. David's assets remain.
Emma managed a bitter smile at this.
Well, if that's the case, we're fine. David, you have savings, right? So, we're okay, right?
The face of Emma clinging to hope was no longer that of the friend I knew. There's none. Because you kept on spending. The savings are gone. At David's words, Emma sat down on the floor. I couldn't feel sorry for her at all. This was her own doing. The discussion is over, so please submit the divorce papers promptly, and David, Please pack your things and leave the house. That's all. It was unclear whether the lawyer's words were heard, but the lawyer and I left the room, leaving the sitting couple behind. I left the rest to the lawyer and went home. The divorce was finalized smoothly. With the lawyer present, David packed his belongings and left the house. I received a few messages from David, but I blocked him completely. I cut off all contact with David and Emma. After being fired from the company and losing his savings, David ended up moving into Emma's place, but with the theft incident, Emma also got fired. They both desperately looked for work but only managed to find day-pay part-time jobs. Despite receiving their salary on the same day, Emma, who is bad at saving, continued to spend and ended up being evicted for failing to pay rent. This incident became known to their relatives, and both were disowned by their parents, unable to return to their parents' house. They now live in a very old, inconvenient apartment while working part-time jobs to pay compensation. I heard from a classmate living nearby that they are occasionally seen at a local spa, looking completely different from before, with worn-out clothes and hair. As for me, work is going well, and I've joined a tennis club as a new hobby. I'm enjoying working on myself while getting some exercise. 6 months later after this incident, I went on a solo trip abroad, where I met a wonderful man, and we are currently dating. This past event has become an unforgettable part of my history, but thinking that it led to the person I am today, I might feel that I made the right choice and I am now very happy with my life.
You're the housekeeper, so you do all the cooking, cleaning, and nursing. If you don't like it, get a divorce and get out.
Brian made it clear that I was his housekeeper. So that was your plan all along. I'm free labor, a housekeeper. On top of that, I'm also expected to look after your mother, Sarah.
Of course, we got married, and you're my wife. You're not cut out for it if you don't like it. Pack your bags and leave, I can divorce you anytime.
It must have been his final warning. Brian said it with a nasty smirk.
Listen, I'm an elite from a prestigious company. You're only just getting by with that pathetic business, thanks to me. Remember that.
All right, then. I whispered, and it seemed to reach Brian.
As long as you understand. Remember, do as I say.
Without responding, I turned my back on Brian and muttered quietly again. Then consider yourself fired.
What?
As a result of my actions, my elite husband. My name is Helen. 30 years old. I own a restaurant. People say it's impressive to be an owner at this young age, but the place was originally my father's, and I just took over. The chef, who's been with us since my father's time, is the one who actually cooks in the kitchen, preserving the flavors that have been cherished since its establishment. With the help of such longtime staff, I've somehow managed to keep the restaurant running. I'm still in the learning process. I took over the restaurant at the age of 22, right after graduating from college. Instead of getting a job, I was immediately entrusted with it from my father. I graduated from the economics department, so I thought I had learned a lot, but reality doesn't always follow the textbooks. Despite numerous failures, and my fair share of bad days, I've managed to keep the restaurant going to this day. I thought I was pretty lucky. About 5 years after I took over the restaurant, a man started coming regularly. It was Brian, who would later become my husband. Once, a group of men in suits came over. Brian was one of them. He said that he liked the food, and started coming as a regular customer. Brian and his colleagues were employees of a major food manufacturer, and they said they were visiting various restaurants for research. I've had my eye on this restaurant for a while, but I usually go to the bigger ones in town, or in the suburbs, so I always pass this place by. Oh, I understand. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. As I said that, Brian laughed sheepishly. I remember thinking he seemed honest and rather nice. My restaurant is indeed in such an odd location. But the taste is so good that many people have fallen in love with it and have been coming back for decades.
It's delicious, I've become quite the fan.
Brian confessed. True to his word, Brian became a regular customer and started talking a lot with me, the owner. Brian graduated from a top university and worked at a renowned company. He was the epitome of an elite. I had never been close to someone like that before. Not only was Brian brilliant at what he did, but he also had good looks. He was tall and slender with a well-defined face. Undoubtedly, he was the type who would be popular. Brian was 7 years older than me, so he was 34 at the time. I assumed he was married due to his age, but he laughed and said he was single. I've been living a life of work, and more work, and before I know it, I'm at this age. How silly of me. His easygoing manner, humorous conversation, and gentle tone made it seem like he wasn't an elite. Before I knew it, I had fallen for Brian. It was probably unrequited love. In his eyes, I was just the restaurant owner, and he was a regular patron. But then, out of the blue, he proposed to me.
Helen, would you consider being in a relationship with me, with marriage in mind?
I couldn't believe it. My heart was pounding. Could such a wonderful person really have feelings for me? It felt like a dream. Like Prince Charming had come for me. I felt like the protagonist of a fairy tale, and intoxicated by that dream, I accepted. A year later, I married Brian. But this fairy tale didn't end with, and they lived happily ever after. After we got married, the next chapter of the story turned into something much darker, like a picture book painted over completely in black.
Hey, you're my wife now. You understand what that means, right?
Brian said this soon after we started living together as a married couple.
Yes, we got married, so I'm your wife now.
I could only respond with confusion to his sudden change in tone. Then Brian suddenly raised his voice.
What kind of a response is that? I'm your husband, so you should address me with more respect. A wife should respect and honor her husband, don't you even know that?
I was too shocked to respond right away. What had happened? It was as if the Brian I knew had been replaced by someone else. A transformation from a prince to a tyrant. I wondered what kind of a witch had cast such a spell.
Listen, I'm an elite, you know that, right? You have to become a wife worthy of me. Prepare yourself for the training I'm going to give you.
From that day on, I was constantly ordered around by Brian. First, Brian demanded perfect housekeeping from me.
Make sure the house is immaculate, ready for anyone to come over at any time. That's a housewife's job. Don't you dare embarrass me.
My family ran a restaurant, so honestly, our house was never in a pristine state. My father was busy in the kitchen, and my mother was helping out too. There was no way we could manage perfect housekeeping. My parents did their best, tidying up and cleaning whenever they spotted a mess, but running a restaurant while raising me was overwhelming. My grandparents on my father's side lived far away, but my grandparents on my mother's side looked after me during particularly busy hours. That was how we managed to get by.
I can't do that. I mean, I have my restaurant to take care of. Don't make excuses before even trying. You don't even want to make any effort.
I managed to put the conversation to rest at the time by saying that I would try, but when I actually started, I realized that it was impossible.
Look, I have the restaurant to handle, so can't we hire someone for the housework?
It wasn't like I was saying I wouldn't do any housework at all. I just wanted to hire a housekeeper to make up for what I couldn't manage, but Brian didn't like the idea.
Why should we waste money like that? The best thing about a housewife is that she's free labor.
I was shocked by his words. Free labor, is that how Brian saw me? It became crystal clear at that moment.
That little restaurant of yours, who knows when it'll go under? You're lucky you found someone like me to support you. Be grateful and serve me well.
When we were dating, he had praised me for taking over the business from my parents at such a young age. That's one of the reasons why I fell for Brian. It might be a small place, but it meant a lot to me, and he had once praised my dedication to keeping it going.
Just keep the restaurant as insurance. If need be, we can sell it. It's worth something even if it's small. But if it starts losing money, shut it down immediately.
It's not worth keeping if it's running at a loss. That's what he said.
So that's what you've wanted all along. I'll never let go of that restaurant, no matter what. Just do your best, but don't forget that I'm only allowing this to be your little hobby because I feel sorry for you.
Remember, it's because I care about you, Brian said while laughing. From that day on, I started thinking about getting a divorce. But I still had some affection for Brian. I wanted to prove him wrong and make him apologize. I was sure he would understand someday. I worked like a horse with these mixed feelings. Indeed, it's a small restaurant, sustained mostly by regulars. Nowadays, most people opt for chain restaurants which offer the same taste wherever you go. That's why big chains thrive. But there will always be those who seek a nostalgic taste. That's why I want to keep the restaurant going. That desire never fades. While maintaining a seemingly peaceful marriage on the surface, I worked hard for the day I would prove Brian wrong. And to that, Brian half mockingly, half amusedly would say,
"Wow, you're really trying hard, still keeping that restaurant going, huh? I thought it would fail soon." "Well, as long as you take care of the house, you can keep going."
I was already doing it without being told. Every morning, I'd wake up early to prepare breakfast for Brian, wake him up, and see him off, then rush out of the house. I'd spend a busy day at the restaurant, and then after closing, I'd shop for groceries, come back home to cook dinner, and clean. When Brian returned, I'd serve him dinner, get ready for a shower, do the laundry, prepare for the next day, and take care of anything else left to do. I was cutting back on sleep, scheduling every day tightly to manage everything without wasting a moment.
"If the house ever gets messy, I'll make you close down the restaurant immediately and sell it."
Brian was probably waiting for that day. I could feel it. Perhaps he married me intending to have a housewife with assets who provides housekeeping services for free. Back then, I was infatuated with Brian. He knew that and thought I'd never stand up to him. That's probably why he chose me.
It surprised me how much you dedicate yourself to the restaurant. I thought once we got married, you'd only have eyes for me.
"I feel betrayed," Brian said one day. I thought I was the one being betrayed. I had believed he understood me when he chose me. I wanted to say that, but I swallowed my words. And then things got worse.
"My mother has fractured a bone and is hospitalized."
Sarah. Brian's parents live in the neighboring state. I don't want to say this, but like Brian's true colors, they are not the most pleasant people.
"Brian is our pride and joy. A graduate from a top university, working at a leading company, an elite man. You've been chosen by Brian, so you should be grateful and serve us well." Helen doesn't realize her luck. Someone married to our son, Brian, should be greeting us in a fancy cocktail dress and a bottle of decent wine.
That's right.
It's just as I expected. A daughter of a restaurant owner must be poorly educated.
That was the first thing they said to me when we met. Not only were they rude to me, but they insulted my parents too. I was about to say something back when my anger got the better of me, but Brian intervened to settle the matter, so I decided to keep my mouth shut for the moment.
"Come now, Helen is still young. It's understandable that she lacks in certain areas. Think of it as having a potential to grow."
I should have realized the true nature of this family at that point, but back then, I was convinced that Brian was protecting me and that he was on my side. After that, my in-laws continued to make snide remarks every time something happened.
"I can't believe Brian married a restaurant owner's daughter." Right, someone like Brian could have married a daughter of a CEO or an executive.
Think about that, Helen.
Be a good daughter-in-law to us.
My in-laws seemed to think that only those working in big corporations like Brian were successful, and anyone in other professions, especially the service industry, were second-class citizens. But even so, Sarah's injury is unfortunate. I'd have to at least pay her a visit. But then Brian said something shocking. "It's a femur fracture. She'll need hospitalization and rehabilitation for a while after surgery. Can you look after her?"
Wait, but aren't hospitals still enforcing visitation restrictions?
I can maybe visit or bring something, but looking after her might not be allowed, right? Who said anything about the hospital? I mean, after my mother is discharged and comes to live with us. It took me a moment to understand what he meant. As I was silently pondering, Brian dropped the bombshell. Don't be dense. Once my mother is discharged, she's moving in with us, along with my father.
What?
You have a problem with that? Of course, it was a problem. Even the thought of living alone with Brian was unbearable, let alone with his parents too. I can't take care of Sarah, I said firmly. I have my restaurant to run. It's impossible. Professional care would be best for her. Why should we pay for that when you're here? Then, close down the restaurant. Sell it and use that money for the family. Brian made an outrageous demand.
I won't sell the restaurant. And I won't take care of Sarah. You're the housekeeper, so you do all the cooking, cleaning, and nursing. If you don't like it, get a divorce and get out.
Brian made it clear that I was his housekeeper. So that was the plan all along. I'm free labor, a housekeeper. On top of that, I'm also expected to look after your mother, Sarah.
Of course, we got married, and you're my wife. You're not cut out for it if you don't like it. Pack your bags and leave, I can divorce you anytime.
It must have been his final warning. Brian said it with a nasty smirk. Listen, I'm an elite from a prestigious company. You're only just getting by with that pathetic business, thanks to me. Remember that. All right, then. I whispered, and it seemed to reach Brian.
As long as you understand. Remember, do as I say.
Without responding, I turned my back on Brian and muttered quietly again. Then consider yourself fired.
What?
Brian didn't hear it clearly and asked again, but I didn't bother repeating myself. I need to get things ready, so I can't do it right now. Fine, there's still time before my mother is discharged. They say she needs at least a month in the hospital. If you're ready by then, that's fine. Brian must have thought I had agreed and went to the bedroom, satisfied. I had been preparing for this for 2 years. Everything had been for this very moment. But even so, I still had hope. That Brian would return to the man he was before we got married. I didn't want to believe that the person I loved so much, that those happy days, were a lie. That's what I thought. But all my hopes were shattered. I had to make up my mind. I was ready. Hello, it's Helen. No, it didn't work out. It can't be helped. Let's take action. I made a call to someone, ready to move forward. A month later, an article made it to the front page of the economics section of the newspaper. The story was that the food manufacturer for which Brian worked for was about to be acquired by a restaurant group in a large stock buyout.
What the hell is this?
In frustration, Brian yanked the newspaper from side to side, tearing it in half.
This is a joke. We're a leading company. And now they're selling us out to some stupid restaurant group.
Brian crumpled the torn newspaper and hurled it against the wall.
Damn it, what's gonna happen? This can't be true.
Brian turned on the TV as if waking from a nightmare, only to see the same news. It seemed the acquisition was real.
Damn it, how did it come to this?
Brian slumped down on the sofa and ruffled his hair in frustration. There's nothing we can do about what's already happened. Here, take this. What's this? Brian looked at what I offered him and his eyes widened in shock. He seemed very surprised.
What is this?
It's a divorce petition.
I can see that. What the heck do you think you're doing giving me this?
Brian crumpled the divorce papers and threw them too. That too, after the newspaper? No matter how much you crumple it, nothing will go back to how it was.
Why do you want a divorce? I demand an explanation.
Are you kidding? Have you forgotten? You're the one who mentioned it. Brian went silent, likely remembering his own words. I won't take care of Sarah or live with your parents. If you don't like it, get a divorce. Those were your words, right?
I did say that. But well, I was bluffing, thinking you wouldn't listen to me otherwise.
So it was a threat. Brian didn't respond. I married you because I loved you. I trusted you. But you deceived me and betrayed me repeatedly. That's why I've decided to get a divorce. I took another divorce petition from the file and placed it in front of Brian. I have spare copies, so feel free to crumple that too. If I run out, I can get more or download it and print it out. We live in such convenient times. Brian stared at the divorce petition placed before him again.
This is a lie, right?
He looked at me with pleading eyes. No, it's true. This is reality.
You're not that kind of woman, right? You wouldn't do something so cruel when I'm so vulnerable.
It seemed like he wasn't going to accept it so easily. Think about what you've done, and what you've tried to do to me. Which do you think is worse? I took my time to tell Brian. Do you remember what you said after we got married? That a wife should respect and honor her husband? Brian didn't respond. I respected you even before we got married. That's why I decided to marry you. But after hearing those words, my respect for you vanished. People who trample on others are also trampling on their own feelings. Brian looked down, silent. You saw me only as free labor, a housekeeper. And the restaurant I cherished, you saw as an asset to cash in. I realize that, but still, I loved you.
Helen.
Brian looked up at me with hope.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you cared about me so much. That's why I acted harshly. Please forgive me.
Brian held my hand, tears streaming down his face.
I'll change, I promise. Give me another chance. I'll treasure you this time.
I'm sorry. I pulled my hand away from Brian's.
Why not? We loved each other, didn't we? We can still make it work.
No, it's too late. I've lost all faith in you. That's why I decided to acquire your company.
What?
Brian looked at me, bewildered. The big restaurant group that acquired your company, with 1,900 full-time employees, I'm the president of that company. Unfortunately, I'm letting you go.
No, this isn't the time for jokes. What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind?
Brian half laughed, but it was the truth. Never mind that for now. Here, take this. Brian took the envelope I handed him with confusion, then screamed in disbelief as he checked the contents.
What's this?
It was evidence of Brian's affairs. There were documents from a private investigator and numerous photos. A female employee in the secretarial department, a subordinate's wife, a recent college graduate, a woman from a business partner, a girl from a club, and who else? The list was astonishingly long. Brian is attractive. And with his elite status, it's no surprise women flocked to him. Amazing, isn't it? Your affairs are too many to count on both hands. I'll be seeking compensation for all of them, from you and the women involved.
Hey!
What? Brian, looking at the documents and photos, turned pale and trembled. He tried to speak to me, but didn't seem to know what to say. The problem is the time and place of the affairs. A lot of them seem to happen when you were supposed to be working. I think this is a breach of trust against the company. A lot of them occurred when he was out of the office on business during working hours, making sales rounds, on business trips, and entertaining clients. Brian was with his mistresses instead, as detailed in the documents.
You've been investigating me like this all along?
Yes, that's right.
That's not fair.
Brian threw the documents and photos at me.
You used the money I earned for this?
No, not a single dollar of your money was used.
Liar. You don't have that kind of money.
Brian, being an elite, had a high salary. He saw me as free housekeeping labor, but he did contribute financially to the household. You know I'm the owner of a restaurant, right?
Yeah, that near bankrupt one. Just a hobby, isn't it? Owner, huh? Ridiculous. It's true that if you look at the finances alone, the restaurant doesn't seem that prosperous. But there's more to it.
I told Brian the whole truth.
That restaurant was for gathering information. I was researching the current trends, what sells, and things like that.
That restaurant, established by my parents, was the first of many. Now, it's a major chain with locations not just in America, but abroad too. The company that acquired Brian's workplace was the parent company of that restaurant chain.
This must be a lie.
It is not a lie. The location of the original restaurant was ideal for market research. The first restaurant thrived mainly due to my father's skills. But the reason we could expand was due to understanding customer preferences.
You never talked about your family business like this before. You tricked me.
I didn't trick you. I just didn't tell you. When I started dating Brian and considering marriage, my father advised me to wait and see.
In hindsight, my father saw through your true nature. He said to tell you if you didn't change after our marriage.
Back then, I would have married Brian regardless of his opposition. That's why my father had said such a thing. And what I told Brian when we married wasn't a lie. My father was ill and struggling to continue working. So, he had my uncle take his place as the company president, and he pretty much retired. That's why it was true when I said I took over the restaurant, because my father was sick. He had undergone major surgery and difficult treatments. As an only child, I was still too young to take over the company, so I was in charge of the restaurant, partly so that I could learn new things. My business degree couldn't make up for my extreme lack of experience. I was told that if I failed to run the restaurant, I wouldn't be acknowledged as the successor. So, I worked hard to continue my father's legacy and earn his approval. My father probably warned me to keep quiet, fearing the business might be taken over or ruined by a bad marriage. But I thought Brian was different, and I wanted to prove I could be honest with him. That's why I remained silent. Well, I was disappointed.
My father even told me that if Brian wasn't the man I thought, I should resolve it by myself.
Of course, that's what I should do. There was no way I could run such a large corporation if I couldn't handle something as small as this.
So, I've lived these past 2 years thinking about how I would make you regret it if you didn't show any remorse. Though, at the same time, I hoped you'd change your ways.
I sighed, picked up my mobile phone, and made a call. The person on the other end answered right away, so I just said what I needed to and hung up. Immediately, the bell to the front entrance rang, so I unlocked it to let the visitor in.
Who's that?
Just watch. Soon the doorbell rang, and I invited the guest in.
The company president.
It was the former president of the company Brian worked for, soon to be mine. The former president bowed stiffly to me. Please proceed. The former president silently handed Brian a document.
Termination notice.
It was an official document. Brian was being fired for misconduct, including meeting women during work hours and charging personal expenses as business entertainment. In exchange for firing Brian, I promised the former president that he could continue as the company's president, and he agreed to the condition.
Even minor misdeeds can accumulate into a major offense. What you did constitutes a serious breach of trust. It's only fair that you're dismissed.
Brian stood in shock, but I had no intention of letting him off the hook.
If you understand, would you please leave now? Why should I? This is my house.
This place is rented, right?
The landlord says you can't stay here anymore. He doesn't want to rent it to you.
Brian looked completely confused. I decided to elaborate further.
I bought this apartment. And you seem to have forgotten, but the lease was only until last month. So, you no longer have the right to live here. I don't plan on renewing the contract.
Brian was speechless.
We'll have to decide on asset division and who gets which furniture, but for now, I don't want to see your face. Could you go back to your parents' house? Sarah is about to be discharged from the hospital, isn't she?
Sarah was scheduled to be discharged in a few days after a month-long stay in the hospital.
Go back and prepare for Sarah's return.
We'll communicate through our attorneys about what comes next. Please take him with you. I handed Brian over to the former company president. If you come back, I'll report you for trespassing. Even though we're not officially divorced yet, if the landlord says no, it's a no. Brian left the room with the former company president silently. There was still more work to be done, but I have reached the end of a chapter. After Brian went back home, I started receiving calls persistently from my in-laws, having heard about the divorce.
Helen, you're so amazing. Why didn't you tell us?
You truly are our son's wife. We are so proud of you. Getting a divorce must be a joke, right? Helen, you loved Brian so much. Can't you forgive a fling or two? That's just men being men. At first, they were arrogant, but when they realized my resolve to get a divorce was firm, they resorted to threats.
You got Brian fired. What are you going to do about that? We'll demand compensation. What you did is unthinkable for our son's wife. Hiring a detective to investigate your husband's behavior. Imagine how it would affect your reputation if it gets out.
When I confidently told them to go ahead with claiming compensation and leaking information about me, they finally shifted to begging.
Helen, I'm really sorry. It felt like you took Brian away from me, and I acted spitefully. Please understand. What are we supposed to do if you leave us? I apologize if I upset you. So, please forgive Brian. If you can't forgive him, how about just us? We were family once, after all.
Of course, I refused everything they had said to me.
I've said it over and over again, but I'm divorcing Brian. If you keep pestering me, I'll report you to the police and consider taking legal action.
After consulting with my attorney, we sent them a formal warning, and they finally stopped contacting me. I made sure Brian paid the compensation. And I ensured it was paid from the assets we divided. Luckily, his high salary meant he had savings. Now jobless and without savings, he's back living with his parents. He found a job in the service industry that he once looked down upon, working from early morning till late at night. Considering he had affairs with other men's wives, he's also facing compensation claims from their husbands. I hope he works hard and pays it all off, no matter how many years it takes. I talked to the women with whom he had cheated. All of them apologized, saying they weren't serious and were just in it for Brian's money and elite status. While I had anticipated this, any relationship with a married person, regardless of the reason, is a legal offense and can be subject to a lawsuit. I made sure these women understood the severity of their actions by legally requiring them to pay compensation. Hopefully, this will be a lesson, and they won't repeat the same mistake. After that, I officially took over as the company president from my uncle. I appointed my uncle as the chairman to continue receiving his help and advice. Although my father's condition has stabilized, he's not in a state to work. But seeing me take over the company, he started seemed to bring him peace, and his spirits noticeably improved. Occasionally, he still offers his thoughts and advice, which I value greatly. I hope my parents live as long as possible. Right now, that's my greatest wish. I've caused them so much worry by getting involved with such an awful man. I gave my parents a lot of trouble, but I resolved my problems all on my own. That seemed to make my father approve of me as a manager. Next time, I want to meet someone better and reassure my parents as a daughter, but I'm not sure I want to get married for a while. This company is like my child now. I want to raise it and help it grow bigger and better. As a company president, I'm just taking my first steps. But I believe a bright future lies ahead on this path. And of course, I'm still running that restaurant. This restaurant was where my parents began their business, and it was the start of my career. In a way, it's like my first child that I shall cherish for the rest of my life. I want to treasure it forever so that I never forget where I came from.
Ania had an accident and was admitted to the hospital. I'll be going back for a while to take care of her. With those words, my husband Jeremy ended the call. I stood there, bewildered. Then I slowly looked over to the person sitting next to me. They looked equally confused. Seeing my mother-in-law, Ania, I couldn't help but give a small, awkward smile. My name is Ophelia. I'm a 40-year-old housewife. I've been married to Jeremy for 10 years now. We were never blessed with children, but I've come to accept it. Life is a gift, and sometimes you don't get every part of it you wish for. We tried treatments, yet even so, children were not in our fate, and I've made peace with that. Lately, I've grown comfortable with the idea of just Jeremy and I, living life at our own pace. But as I grow older, I've started to feel my energy waning, and I've come to think that having a helping hand, even if not from a child, would be nice sometimes. I imagine our parents, much older than us, feel that way even more keenly. Fortunately, my own parents are well taken care of. They live peacefully with my brother's family, free from any mother-in-law and daughter-in-law conflicts, so I don't really have to worry much about taking care of them. But Jeremy sighed. Well, that's a different story. His father has already passed away, but his mother, Ania, is still very much alive. Even though she's in her 70s, she still manages to live on her own with remarkable vigor. For now, there hasn't been any talk of her moving in with us, though I can't help but worry it may come up someday. You see, Ania and I aren't particularly close. It's not that we have a bad relationship. It's just that with her home being 2 hours away by train, we've naturally grown distant. When Jeremy's father was still with us, we would visit for the holidays, but now Ania usually just tells Jeremy, "I'm doing fine here on my own," and she doesn't even ask us to visit. With Jeremy always busy, our visits to her have become increasingly infrequent. The last time I saw Ania was, maybe 3 years ago. Well, she keeps in touch with Jeremy, so I assume she's doing well. If we had children, I'm sure we would have visited more often, with the excuse of bringing the grandkids. But for better or worse, we don't have any children. Perhaps it was inevitable that we drift apart. Fortunately, neither Jeremy nor Ania seems interested in moving in with us. And maybe it's just me being overly anxious, but it seems unlikely we'll ever have to live together. Still, I can't deny that as I've started feeling my age, I worry about the future. Living alone in your 70s can have its challenges, after all. But if I ask Jeremy, "Do you think Annie's okay?" it'll only end with him saying, "Well, then you go check on her." So I keep quiet. It's been years since I last saw her. We may be family in name, but the truth is, we're practically strangers. If Jeremy were there, it might be bearable, but the idea of being alone with Ania, just thinking about it makes my stomach churn. The Ania I remember wasn't the type to be unkind to me. On the contrary, "Thank you for marrying my foolish son," she'd said, her expression sincere. Jeremy, sitting next to me at the time, looked horrified. I remember thinking, just how much trouble had he caused when my father-in-law was alive, and we'd visit a few times. Ania never treated me like a servant just because I was her son's wife. "The kitchen is a battlefield for women. I'll handle it, Ophelia. You just sit back," she'd insist, taking charge in the kitchen. Of course, what she really meant was that I shouldn't mess with her kitchen. But still, it was a relief not to be bossed around. Many of my friends would complain about being ordered around by their in-laws. So I'm hopeful that things will just stay as they are. But more pressing, honestly, is the fact that Jeremy and I hardly spend time together anymore. In his 40s, taken on more responsibilities at work, and as a middle manager, he's always busy. But is it really okay for work to take over his life, leaving his family on the sidelines? If we had kids, they'd probably have forgotten who their father was by now. Is it okay just because we don't have kids? So, does it mean I get to forget his exists too? That's how rarely he's at home. Well, he does come home, just not until late. He always eats dinner out, and sometimes he doesn't come back until well after midnight. With the economy like this, we can't hire anyone new, but the older employees are retiring early. We're completely understaffed. He sighs deeply, exhausted. When he does get home, he goes straight to the shower, then right to bed. And with all his weekend work, we have no time together as a couple. Even if I suggest a trip, with us being so short-staffed, there's no way I can take time off, he replies. It's basically a sweatshop, isn't it? But at least he's getting paid for the overtime, so his income's shot up. With my own job, we're financially comfortable. But having money doesn't make up for the emptiness. With Jeremy just coming home to sleep, it hardly feels like we're living together at all. Sometimes I wonder if there's any meaning left in our marriage, but I shake my head at the thought. Still, when the overtime and weekend shifts keep piling up, you can't help but get suspicious. Jeremy's company might be understaffed and struggling now, but it used to be a decent place to work. It's strange that they're doing nothing to fix the situation. But there was a time when Jeremy came home way too late, and I called his office. The company president himself answered and apologized, saying, "I'm very sorry for causing trouble for your family. Because of that, it's become harder for me to make these confirmation calls. Don't keep calling me," Jeremy told me, "so if I call and it turns out he's just working overtime, he might really get angry. I'm not about to ask, what's more important, me or your job? I just wonder if it's selfish to want a little more time for us as a couple." So once again, as he left for work on a weekend, I found myself sulking alone in our room. But sighing all day would just bring down my mood even further, so I decided to get out for a bit. Even without Jeremy, dressing up, shopping, and maybe eating something nice could lift my spirits. With that thought, I took a bus a bit farther out to a large shopping mall. This cake is delicious. With each bite of the delicious cake, my mood brightened. Yes, if Jeremy loves his job more than his wife, then I'll just enjoy myself alone. I'm spending my own paycheck, so he can't say a word about it. As I thought that, I reached out to order another slice, when suddenly I nearly choked on the cake. I was so shocked that I took a big gulp of air. I quickly took a drink of water, took a deep breath, and opened my eyes wide again. But there it was, the same scene, exactly as I had seen it the first time. Jeremy. Standing there was Jeremy, who should have been at work. Sure, he's not in sales, but he could have a reason to go out for some outside business. But the odd part was, a woman's hand was resting on his. Actually, Jeremy was arm in arm with a woman I didn't know, looking quite intimate. What the heck is he doing? In that instant, the glass I was holding cracked with a loud snap, and I had to apologize profusely to the store. Moments later, Jeremy and the woman melted into the crowd, so fast that I started to wonder if I'd really seen him. After that, I didn't feel like staying out anymore, and I headed home early. And now here I am, stewing in frustration. That had to be cheating, right? Jeremy and the woman were leaning close, laughing happily together. I haven't seen Jeremy look like that since we first started dating. Disgusting. Is it because she's young? Do men just prefer younger women? Or is it about kids? Could he want kids and be drawn to a younger woman for that reason? Sigh, I just need to calm down. Getting worked up isn't going to do any good. Staying calm is essential, even in work. When emotions are running high, the best thing is to distract yourself with something unrelated. So I decided to take out my bank book. Come to think of it, I haven't updated this in a while, since both our deposits and withdrawals are on the card. It's probably been building up. I might as well update this other account too, I said, pulling out the bank book in Jeremy's name. Even though it's in his name, this is our shared account. Every month, we each put a set amount from our paychecks into savings. Still, we wouldn't push it too hard when our income is low or expenses are too high. Even so, we managed to save up a decent amount. We'd talked about how we'd travel everywhere after retirement with this money. My eyes began to well up with tears. But there's still hope, maybe. It's possible it's just some new girl at work who's a bit overly affectionate. I mean, he might not mind a bit of attention from a younger girl. Right, okay, maybe that's unlikely, but it's not completely impossible. But there's no point in getting upset without solid proof. The account book hasn't been updated for about a year. Jeremy is the one who usually deposits our savings. All I do is hand him cash. Please put this in our savings. Saying, Jeremy would then deposit it using his card. Jeremy isn't the most organized, is he? So I decided to update it along with my own passbook. And then, the next day, what in the world is this? I even put an N in front of the words out of sheer shock. That's how stunned I was. What had surprised me so much, you ask? It's the balance in our joint savings account. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, this can't be right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I going blind, or what? The first number is 3, and then 4 zeros to the right, which means a balance of $300. If this is a nightmare, I want to wake up. I pinch my cheek, but unfortunately, it hurts. This is reality. No way. It was over $10K before. Where did it all go? A year ago, our balance was easily over $10K. And now, within 1 year, it's down to $300. As I kept looking, I noticed that there hadn't been any deposits for the past 8 months. Of course, over the last 8 months, I was still handing Jeremy cash to put into our savings. But instead of deposits, there were repeated withdrawals. At one point, a $2K withdrawal was made just a month ago. You've got to be kidding, I whispered, doubting my eyes. But the heartless number $300 stared back at me. What am I supposed to do now? I planned to confront Jeremy that evening, but that fell through. Because Jeremy, I've got a sudden business trip and will be out for a while. I swung by during the day to pack a bag, so I'm heading out. Hold down the fort for 3 days, okay? Messaged me. Darn it, he escaped. Whether it was his animal instinct or just a coincidence, our conversation got postponed for a week, leaving me gnashing my teeth. Now I couldn't focus on work, feeling I'd only cause trouble if I made mistakes there. So I decided to take a week off. It felt bad to ask suddenly, but thankfully my company approved it. Working for a considerate company is fantastic, but there's no time for joy. I can't afford to waste my days off lounging around. What I need to do now, I have to gather evidence that Jeremy is cheating and find out how much of our shared finances have been drained. Cheating. As soon as that word crossed my mind, I felt tears well up. Why? What went wrong? I have no idea, no matter how much I think about it. I need Jeremy to explain it, but I'm terrified to ask. I have to think about what to do from here. If he really was cheating, then what am I supposed to do? Divorce? Of course, that seems to be the most likely outcome. But I thought we were finally moving forward, with the kids out on their own, and just the two of us, looking forward to a happy life together. Is divorce really the answer? But then, what else could I do? His heart is already far from me. There's no way I could find happiness staying with someone like that. What were these past 10 years even for? Maybe, for Jeremy, these 10 years weren't so meaningful after all. Thinking about it just makes me sad. And before I know it, tears start streaming down my face. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It's probably just a salesperson, so I ignore it, but the bell keeps ringing. Not really in the right headspace for interruptions. I wipe my tears quickly and turn to my computer to do a search. Let's see. Private investigators for infidelity. The bell keeps ringing as I search. I'll just ignore it. Keep ignoring it, I mutter, trying to stay focused on my search. The bell rings again. Ignore it. It rings. Ignore it. Rings again. Oh, for heaven's sake. How confident are they in this product? Persistent salesperson. I glare at the monitor, but in the next instant, all the blood drains from my face. What? Ania. Standing there, after 3 long years. Is Ania. Here, would you like some coffee? No, please, don't trouble yourself. Of course, I couldn't ignore her, so I let her in. For some reason, Ania stays silent, so I bring her a coffee anyway. She takes a sip, with a slight slurp, and says nothing. Could you please say something? The silence with Ania after 3 years feels unbearable. Well, there's no need to be so tense. I know it's hard to feel comfortable after so long, even if I say just talk freely. Oh, I'm a little taken aback. Ania isn't being sarcastic or anything. It's just her honest thought. Her face, though, looks lonely. The Ania I remember has always been so strong. These past 3 years since her husband, my father-in-law, passed, Ania must have felt lonely. And yet, she never reached out. Living alone all this time with quiet strength, the thought squeezes at my heart. I start to say something, but Ania speaks first. There's actually reunion tonight here in town. Oh, really? Yes, this is my hometown after all. I just came by to check on things. I'm sorry for dropping in suddenly. I wanted to call, but I left my phone. It's my age, I guess. Ania laughs, but I notice how much older she looks compared to 3 years ago. Jeremy and I really left her alone for so long. Even though we kept in touch, it couldn't have eased her loneliness. I'm sorry, I say without thinking, and Ania quickly waves it off. Oh, Ophelia, please, I'm the one who should apologize for coming by so suddenly. I'm just glad to see you're doing well. Just seeing your face is enough for me. I'll be going now. Oh, you're leaving already? Yes, it seems Jeremy isn't here, and you're busy too, right? Come to think of it, today is a weekday, isn't it? How's work going? Being retired, I tend to forget what day it is. Ania said. Sure enough, I'd usually be at work today, leaving the house empty. But with this day off, having Ania come over. Was it just a coincidence or fate? Jeremy is at work, right? Jeremy's on a business trip. Oh, I see. Wait, Ophelia. I tried to answer as calmly as I could, but it didn't work. Just thinking about Jeremy brought back the memory of him with that woman from yesterday. And then, just like that, the tears burst through. As I started sobbing, Ania looked concerned and gently rubbed my back. What's wrong? Did something happen? I'm here if you want to talk about it. With that kindness, I just couldn't hold back anymore. I felt the walls I'd been building in my heart crumble, and I broke down, crying out loud. Looking back, I'd held back a lot because of Jeremy's brother staying with us. I stopped visiting my parents and even calling them much. And with Jeremy acting the way he has, I realize now I've been so alone. No, it's only now that I finally see it. I've been lonely, without a child, without any closeness left with Jeremy. And now he's even cheated. It hits me now how badly I wanted someone to just listen. So I told Ania everything. How we barely spend time together. How I saw him with another woman, arm in arm. And how our joint accounts seemed to be missing money. Ania listened quietly, nodding as she stroked my back in gentle silence until I had shared it all. By the time I'd finished, I felt a calm settling over me, and the tears finally stopped. Ophelia, want some coffee? Yes. Here you go. Thank you. The coffee Ania handed me was a bit cold, but it tasted good. It's good. Of course, it's my coffee. No, I made it, didn't I? Ania's joke made me laugh, and she gave a gentle smile. It made me realize I hadn't laughed even once since yesterday. And here I was, smiling. Look, there's no talking with Jeremy until he gets back, right? So why spend time stressing over it? You've got the day off. Take some time and treat yourself. The next day, Ania said this and pulled me outside for a day out. Ignoring my stunned look, she tugged me along with determination. Come on, you know this area better than I do. Show me around, anywhere with some good cake. Oh well, there's a place over there. As we wandered through different shops together, I found myself caring less and less about Jeremy. He really didn't seem that important now. I'm so happy. I always thought that if I had a daughter, we'd go shopping like this together. Ania said this with such joy, and I knew she was being mindful of my feelings. But knowing that just made it even more touching. It was exactly what I needed. We spent the entire day together, exploring all kinds of shops. Ania is full of energy, so much so that it's hard to believe she's 72. In fact, she's probably got more stamina than I do, the way she can keep walking. I was a bit sleep-deprived from thinking about Jeremy, which didn't help, but even so, I couldn't keep up with her energy. We went in and out of various stores, buying things we liked. Sometimes, Ania would treat me. Other times, I'd buy something for her. We may not be mother and daughter, but after 3 years of not seeing each other, the awkwardness was finally starting to fade, and we had a genuinely good time together. But as dusk began to settle in, a phone call shattered the cheerful mood. The caller was Jeremy. We had just sat down on a bench for a little break, and we both fell silent at the sound of the phone. Can you put it on speaker? I nodded at Ania's request and answered the call. Hello. Hey, Ophelia. It's bad. Real bad. Mom got hit by a car. Excuse me. I looked instinctively at Ania sitting right next to me. Ania had a puzzled look on her face. Not realizing she was right beside me, Jeremy started speaking frantically. Apparently, some drunk driver hit her near the old neighborhood. She's not in critical condition, but she's got a fracture and is having trouble moving around. That's serious. If that were true, I fought, but kept my voice steady. So anyway, with her in this situation, I decided to take some time off and go back home. What? And your job? When I explained the situation to my boss, they agreed I could work remotely for a while. So I'll head straight home after this business trip. Should I come out there too? Well, you have your job, right? It's not like she's bedridden or anything. Don't worry, Ophelia. I'm her son, after all. I wouldn't want to burden you. Jeremy must be thinking he's the most thoughtful husband ever. Oh, if only he knew. A devoted husband wouldn't cheat. Nor would he lie about his mother getting injured in an accident, now would he? So yay, I'll handle things at home. I'll let you know when she's got better. He was about to hang up, but added one last thing. Mom's in a rough state right now, so don't call or message her, okay? The doctor said she can't have her phone for a while. And just how serious is this injury if she's on phone restriction? Of course, Jeremy didn't hear my remark. After all, if Ania contacted me, his little lie would be exposed. Well, it already has. With that, Jeremy hung up the phone. I exhaled slowly, still holding my phone, and glanced at Ania. She sat there with a deadpan expression, slightly terrifying, honestly. Well, for now anyway. Ania slowly raised her gaze to look at me. Then, in the next moment, why don't we just grab some coffee and pretend this conversation never happened? She suggested with a cheerful smile. I couldn't help. Yes, let's. But smile back brightly. In the end, she stayed at our house instead of returning to her own. After all, we had gotten along so well. At first, our relationship was cautious, but within a month, it had grown close, almost like a real mother-daughter bond. Ania, what would you like for dinner tonight? Tonight, Ophelia. Aren't you working late? I can make something. Thank you. We've been enjoying ourselves, keeping a comfortable distance, but feeling happy together. It feels like we've been in this situation forever. I remembered thinking there used to be someone else in this house, but who? Just when I was pondering this, something happened over dinner that evening. Oh, it's Jeremy calling. Oh my, he's still alive. Her sharp words, coming from a supposed mother, made me chuckle. Should I answer? Why not? Well then. With a nod, I pressed a call button. Hello, Ophelia. Hey, long time no talk. How have you been? Oh, I'm doing great. Mom's looking really good too. Well, that's good to hear. Of course, I see her every day, looking perfectly healthy. I'm still not quite back to full speed, so I think I'll stay a bit longer. I was thinking of stopping by to pick up some of my things. Now, after all this time, it had been a whole month with no word from him, no request to send his clothes or any of his things over to his parents' house. And of course, he's not staying at his parents' anyway. But after all this time, he's decided he needs his stuff. Turns out I need a few things for work. This might take longer, so I thought I'd keep them here. All right, I'll be here. Thanks. Oh yes, we are here waiting for you. The next morning, on my day off, Jeremy returned first thing. I'm back. Did the whole vibe of the house change? Well, a month will do that. Really, it feels totally different. Are these new dishes? In the past month, the house had truly become my and Ania's living space. Nothing of Jeremy's presence remained anywhere. All his belongings were piled up in his room, which had become a chaotic storage space. Well, what's with this mountain of stuff? It's no wonder he shouted. They're your things. Since you weren't coming back, I had to push them aside. Push them aside. That's pretty harsh. Jeremy grumbled as he started moving his things, one by one, from the front of the pile. And then, as the stack at the front was cleared, something was revealed in the back. What? A loud, impressive scream echoed. What's going on? Stop yelling so weirdly. Is there there a ghost or something? Jeremy, now terrified, pointed to the back of the room. Some remaining stacked boxes suddenly toppled over. At that moment, who are you calling a ghost? In a flash, Ania appeared from behind the boxes, causing Jeremy to faint. Wetting himself, poor thing. After he regained consciousness, he headed straight to the shower. As Ania and I finished tidying up, sipping coffee, Jeremy emerged, staring at us both in shock. What in the world is going on? That's what I should be asking you. Ania snaps back at Jeremy's words. With a sharp glare, Jeremy's face turns pale. Ania keeps pressing on. What did you say? That I got into an accident? That I'm hospitalized? That I'm helpless and would need your care? Well, I'm asking, what does that mean? Yes, I'm sorry. Don't go making up stories about me getting hurt. What exactly do you think you could do for me anyway, considering you barely know how to handle house chores? You're absolutely right. That's right. He does absolutely no housework. Since we don't have kids, I thought it would be okay. But really, what would he actually do if Ania were truly injured? If Ania's injury were real, he'd probably shove all the responsibility onto me without a second thought. Hey, when I speak up next, Jeremy looks at me, startled, as if he'd seen a ghost. He needs to stop looking at me like that. So about this. What did you use it for? I hold out our joint account passbook. Is glaringly visible on the open page. What? Oh, well, that is. This has been getting withdrawn consistently for the past 8 months, hasn't it? I gave you over $3,000 to put away in savings. What happened to it? That is. What's going on? Well, speak up. I'm sorry. I spent it all. On what? Well, on various things. Name those purchases specifically. Specify. Clothes. And accessories. And hotel expenses. Go to hell. I'm sorry. I can't believe he just rattled off everything, even mentioning hotel costs. In a fit of rage, I threw the heavy dictionary I was holding. Analog definitely has its advantages over digital. Jeremy shrieked and fell flat, all the drama over a hit to his jaw. Although he did get up right away. When you say hotel, you mean that kind of hotel, right? The one where you go with another woman. If he tries to claim it's a business hotel, I'm ready to throw another book at him. But with a pale face, Jeremy stays silent. Looks like he's opting for the silent treatment now. So I'm switching to my evidence tactic. If you're not going to speak, here's this for you, I say as I hand him a thick envelope. What's this? A gift for you. I flash a smile, and Jeremy's face lights up. Is he serious? But as he pulls out the thick stack of papers from the envelope and starts reading, his face pales again. What is this? Oh, that's the result of my investigation into your affair. Took less than 2 weeks to gather. Jeremy holds the stack of papers. Photos of Jeremy and a woman fall from the envelope, entering the hotel together. All documented. Them living together now. All documented. Why are you lying and calling it a live-in arrangement? It's not exactly living together. It's just that I found it easier to stay over than go back and forth. That's what living together means. Seriously, want the dictionary thrown at your jaw again? Or your head this time? No, please. You're right. We were living together. Jeremy, with his foolish excuses, finally admitted, looking as if he might cry, that they were living together. When did the cheating start? Cheating? It was just more like a close connection, you know. What? All right, fine, yes, it was an affair. Please, stop glaring at me with those piercing eyes. When did it start? Well, it's been less than a year, I think. And you spent all our money on her, didn't you? Yes. So that means we're getting divorced. Right? What? Jeremy, finally admitting to the affair, seemed shocked when the discussion turned toward divorce. What do you mean what? Wait, we're getting divorced. Why wouldn't we? But don't we still love each other? Are you asleep right now? Was he dreaming, or something? You don't love me. That's why you cheated, isn't it? You're living with her, aren't you? No, she's just a fling. I mean, I'm married. I wouldn't seriously fall for someone who'd mess with a married man. Watching Jeremy laugh like this, I didn't hesitate to throw a dictionary at him. Read it cover to cover, and maybe you'll understand some sense. Anyway, you'll return our shared savings. And there will be compensation from the divorce. And since she knew you were married, she'll be facing consequences, too. What? No way. I imagine my retirement with you, Ophelia, enjoying our golden years. I don't want that. No, I won't divorce. We're divorcing. The situation was turning into a full-blown mess. It looked like we'd need a lawyer to go over everything carefully. Could we even get divorced without any more complications? It was just then that I felt a hand land firmly on Jeremy's shoulder. The wrinkled hand belonged to Ania. Jeremy. Ophelia. What are you doing here? It's been 3 years. Why now? I've seen where your heart truly lies. You'll be taking care of me, then. What? Well, then let me give you all the care you deserve. Wait. No, Mom. Stop pulling at my collar. I can't breathe. Are you really in your 70s? What was that? No, nothing. You're always so lively and youthful. I'll fix that rotten attitude of yours. Oh no, help me. Jeremy was yanked out by Ania, protesting all the way. Their voices gradually faded as they moved outside. When the noise finally stopped, good riddance, I let out a long sigh. Afterward, discussions through our lawyers led to a successful divorce. Jeremy was ordered to pay back every penny spent on his affair, plus the compensation from the trial. Though he'd blown through our savings, I got the house, and the rest would be paid in installments. I'll make sure every last cent is paid, Ania reassured me confidently. Of course, I sent a bill to Jeremy's affair partner, too. She tried to say she hadn't known he was married, but since she'd admitted it before, with that infuriatingly drawn-out tone, I decided there was no way I was letting her off the hook. Her parents ended up paying on her behalf, but honestly, I couldn't care less who covered the cost. It's not my concern at all. Whether Jeremy and she planned to remarry didn't interest me, but apparently, they ended up breaking things off. Jeremy had blurted out, "It was just a fling with you," which led to her blowing up and ending things with a slap. Ania told me that Jeremy had a mark on his face that looked absolutely fitting. I should have left him with a similar one myself, but in the end, both of them seemed pretty alike. Jeremy went back to his parents' house, and under Ania's strict supervision, he's now walking on eggshells. Ania also told me, once he finishes paying the divorce settlement, I'm kicking him out of the house, so who knows where he'll end up. Word about the affair got out at his company, and since that straight-laced CEO found out, things must be awkward at work, too. At his age, finding a new job might be challenging if he ends up resigning, but honestly, that's not my problem. As for me, I quickly sold the house I got as a part of the settlement and moved into a condo. Now I'm thoroughly enjoying my solo life. Oh, there's the doorbell. Yes, coming. Hello, Ophelia. Come on in, Ania. I've got some nice treats prepared today. I've brought homemade food and wine. Oh, that's wonderful. Let's drink the night away. Oh, I have a funny story to share. Ania and I still get along like the best of friends. Calling her Ania just feels right somehow, and I'm sure this friendship will keep on going. My marriage to Jeremy might have been a failure, but I think it's safe to say that gaining a wonderful coffee friend like her was a big win.
I'm sorry to ask, but can you not come to the wedding tomorrow? I didn't understand what was being said, so I immediately asked for clarification.
What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. I think Marty would also prefer if his low-level sister who works at a supermarket didn't come. I finally got a taste of what it felt like to be looked down upon. It's for Marty's sake. When they said it was for my brother, I couldn't say anything anymore. My name is Joanna. When I was in 9th grade, my parents passed away in a car accident, leaving my brother Marty and me alone. At first, I couldn't comprehend what had happened. We didn't have any reliable relatives, so our teachers took care of the funeral arrangements and other necessities. I could only watch, holding Marty's hand tightly. Only after the funeral, when it was just Marty and me in the house, did I finally understand. I cried my eyes out. I cried until I fell asleep from exhaustion. When I woke up, I felt considerably calmer, as if I had used up a lifetime's worth of tears. With a clear mind, I thought about how to go on living. Protecting Marty. That's what matters most. I decided not to go to college and to start working instead. I was worried about finding work without a high school diploma, but a classmate's parent, who ran a supermarket, offered me a job. Would you like to work here? The pay isn't great, but everyone is really nice. Everyone else was enjoying high school life in their new uniforms. Honestly, I was envious. But to make ends meet, I had to work. Thankfully, Marty understood the situation. When he came home from school, he would help with dinner and cleaning. Being the sweet guy that Marty is, I wanted him to at least continue doing what he loved, playing soccer. Marty wanted to quit because of the travel costs for matches, but the coach and I convinced him to stay. Maybe it's just my perception, but I believe Marty has a real talent for soccer. On the days when there were soccer games, I'd take the day off work or get a break just to cheer for Marty. At first, other parents were surprised to see a sister, not a parent, showing up for Marty. But as Marty excelled in soccer and my cheers got louder, the weird looks disappeared. Once Marty hit high school, scouts from colleges and even pro leagues started showing up to see him. That helped him get a college scholarship for athletics. When it came time for college, Marty said,
I'm going to work. I can't keep depending on you, Joanna.
But I shook my head. I want you to keep chasing your dreams, Marty. I want to live the youth I couldn't have through you. Marty frowned a bit at my words. I'll definitely go pro and take care of you, Joanna. Thank you, but you don't have to worry about me. My only dream is for you to become a pro soccer player. I smiled warmly to reassure Marty.
Don't worry about me. I'll be fine.
Sure, Joanna, you're more hardworking than me, but... To me, Marty was the true hard worker. As promised, Marty went pro after honing his skills in college. I kept working at the supermarket, eventually moving to part-time as time grew short. I had run out of time to pursue my dreams, so I took up a part-time job. Believe it or not, 15 years had nearly passed since I started working at this supermarket. One evening, during my break, I got a text from Marty on my cell phone. The text said,
There's someone I want you to meet.
I stood up in excitement, forgetting I was in the supermarket break room. I was so happy Marty had found someone special that I even cried while telling my coworkers and manager. Marty was a very good kid who rarely made demands. He lost all his rebellious tendencies after our parents passed away. He even considered quitting soccer, which he loved, just to support me. And now I get to meet someone special to Marty. Could I be happier? The text had the date, time, and the name of a restaurant at a nearby hotel. When I told my coworkers, they said,
You have to dress stylishly.
I was always mindful of how I dressed, but I didn't own anything fancy. After my part-time shift, my coworkers dragged me to the shopping district. I was dressed in various outfits at boutiques I'd never usually enter, finally selecting a classy but simple dress. After that, we headed to a major mall where I bought branded makeup and got a makeup tutorial. Finally, I felt a sense of liberation. Though shopping after work drained me more than my part-time job, the fatigue was not unwelcome. I'd been counting down the days on my calendar, eagerly awaiting this day. A few days later, I sat in the hotel lobby where we agreed to meet, wearing a dress I'd bought with a coworker. I'm not great at makeup, but I think I did it right, just as I was taught. Feeling nervous, I waited for the two of them. Then suddenly, I heard someone call from behind me.
Joanna.
Turning around slowly, I saw Marty in a suit and a stunning woman with long hair next to him.
Joanna, you look amazing.
I went all out on being stylish. Marty said he wanted to introduce me to someone special. As I said this and laughed, Marty seemed pleased.
Let me introduce you. This is my fiancée Vanessa.
Nice to meet you. I'm Vanessa, your future sister-in-law. Receiving such a courteous greeting from an incredibly beautiful woman, I found myself getting even more nervous. Somehow managing to say,
I'm Marty's sister, Joanna.
We decided to move to a restaurant. Once we were seated, we chatted about various things. Vanessa comes from a well-known family around here, and her father is apparently quite wealthy.
Marty has told me about you. After your parents passed away, you've been like a parent to him.
Parent-like, I wouldn't say.
Don't be modest. You gave up high school for me and went to work.
Wait, you didn't finish high school? Yeah, I started working right after middle school at a supermarket. It's been 15 years now. Just then, something felt off. Though Vanessa was nodding and making cute faces, it felt like she was looking down on me from behind her eyes. I thought it was my imagination, but then I saw her sneer when Marty wasn't looking. Your dress suits you well. She complimented my dress, but the way she scanned me from head to toe and snickered under her breath confirmed it. She definitely looked down on me. Next year, we're planning to get married, Marty said, looking a bit embarrassed. To be honest, I wasn't thrilled, but if this was Marty's choice, I had to be happy for him. All I could do was offer my biggest smile and say, "Congratulations." So, our meetup ended. Though I had some reservations, if they were happy, who was I to say anything? I let it go. Days flew by, and before I knew it, Marty's wedding day was tomorrow. As I was getting my outfit and other necessities ready, a call came in from Vanessa on my cell. I returned her call immediately, wondering what could be wrong.
I'm busy too. Could you get to the point?
I never expected to be greeted like that right off the bat. I should have left on time, and I know it's my fault. So, I genuinely say, I'm sorry. On the other end of the phone, Vanessa lets out a sigh-like sound. Look. Then she throws a shocking statement my way.
Could your sister-in-law please not come to the wedding tomorrow? What?
I didn't understand her meaning, so I asked her again.
Vanessa, what are you saying?
I mean exactly what I said.
I don't think even Marty would want his sister who works at a grocery store to come.
Her condescending tone makes me realize what it's like to be belittled. She doesn't even try to hide her mockery. But no matter what, I can't miss my only brother's wedding.
Vanessa, that's not gonna happen. I'm the bride, so if I say it's possible, then it is.
Please don't make me say it again.
It's also for Marty's sake.
When she brings up Marty's sake, I can't argue anymore. The wedding will have guests like the coach and players of the team Marty is part of. Also, there will be people from the major corporations Vanessa's family does business with, people you'd typically call elites. I can't deny that I've wondered if me, a high school dropout, being there would ruin the atmosphere. Marty might say, "Don't worry about it." But I'm sure others won't feel the same way. Don't worry about it. But I'm sure others won't feel the same way. Maybe it would be better to follow Vanessa's suggestion and not attend. Fine, I won't come. But can I at least send a congratulatory message? Even though it might be rude over the phone, if I can't say it in person, then what? Never mind, then. Vanessa curtly says, hanging up the phone. Stunned, I hold my disconnected phone. I wish I could have seen Marty happy with my own eyes. I push the packed bag into the corner of the room and crawl into bed. I'll just sleep through today. I don't feel like doing anything, and if I let my guard down, I might start crying. I forcefully close my eyes, but I couldn't sleep until morning. The next morning, I check my phone and find several missed calls from Marty. No surprise there. The whole family was supposed to head to the wedding venue early in the morning. Just then, another call from Marty comes in. I answer the phone. Hello. Joanna? Where are you? I'm coming to get you. Marty, I can't make it today. I can sense the urgency on the other end.
Why?
Marty asks with a sad voice. I'm torn about telling the truth when Marty continues.
Did Vanessa say something? Is that it?
How did you? Did Vanessa say something to Marty? Before I could ask, he says.
Never mind. Just get here now. We'll talk later.
Then he hangs up. Even though I planned not to go, I hurriedly get ready and leave the house, concerned about Marty and Vanessa. When I arrive at the venue, I can hear shouting even before I enter the waiting room. Guided by the venue staff, I enter to find Marty, Vanessa, and her parents in a heated argument. Around them, relatives who were supposed to attend are confused.
What do you mean, not inviting Joanna to the wedding?
I can't invite a Joanna who works at a grocery store. It's embarrassing. Both of Vanessa's parents, standing next to her, nod in agreement. It's disheartening, but they seem to be on the same page. Seeing their reaction, Marty's anger reaches a boiling point.
What do you mean I should be embarrassed? Joanna has been working hard her entire life to raise me.
Vanessa snorts at his words.
Because of Joanna, I might never get married, you know? I should be more important than her, right?
So it is. Vanessa says as if it's the most natural thing in the world. Yeah, of course. Her parents chime in. Absolutely. Meanwhile, Marty looks like he's about to burst a blood vessel.
Marty, Vanessa, let's calm down a bit.
I hastily step in, but Vanessa suddenly realizes I'm at the venue and shouts.
Why are you here? People like you, who work at supermarkets, weren't invited. Leave now.
Why does she have to say things like this? I didn't want to cry in front of Vanessa, but I felt tears welling up. Just then, a voice rings out from a gap in the crowd of relatives who had been watching from afar.
Hold on a minute. I can't ignore that low-level comment.
The voice's owner makes his way through the crowd and stands in front of us. Coach. It's Marty's team coach. He came early to attend the ceremony and, hearing the commotion, decided to step in.
Judging people by their profession isn't right, he says. Enough with the lectures, please.
Vanessa gives the coach a pained look. Even she can't keep up her bravado in front of the coach.
Well, that may be.
The coach gives a wry smile and takes a book from his bag. Realizing what the book is, all my sadness flies away, replaced by a surge of embarrassment.
You sure she's low-level even by your standards? The coach asks.
That's a best-selling book. What does it have to do with this?
The person who wrote this bestseller is none other than Marty's sister, Joanna. What?
Vanessa and her parents are left speechless. The book the coach is holding is a novel I've published under the pseudonym Annie. The story traces back to before Marty became a pro soccer player. When life began to stabilize, Marty took up reading as a hobby, mainly because it was an affordable pastime. I found joy in reading books at the library near the supermarket, a place I frequented. That library had a computer corner open to the public, where Hay ventured into writing as an extension of my love for books. On a whim, I entered a contest and ended up winning, which led to a connection with a publishing house. Now, I'm a recognized author of several best-selling novels and is often featured in the media.
I've never heard this story before.
After a moment of silence, Vanessa starts to speak as if she can't believe what's going on. Cutting her off, Marty says,
I didn't say it before, but it's true.
glaring at Vanessa as he speaks. Something about Marty's reaction must have convinced her it's not a lie. Vanessa turns to look at me, her expression changing from devilish to as radiant as a flower.
If you're such an amazing person, that's a different story. Please, join the ceremony. Don't mess with me. I'm not marrying you.
At Marty's words, Vanessa looks ready to explode.
What did you say?
The coach holds Vanessa back.
There's no way we can just go back to normal after you've treated my precious sister like this. I'm sorry, but I can't marry Vanessa.
Marty deeply apologizes in front of Vanessa's parents and the relatives who were planning to attend the wedding. Vanessa's parents also raise their voices.
You can't be serious.
But the relatives standing behind them hold them back. There was some drama, but eventually, it was decided that Vanessa's side of the attendees should leave. Vanessa kept shouting,
You have to marry me.
until the end. Back in the dressing room, it's just me and Marty. Marty, looking completely drained, sits down on the sofa.
Are you sure it's okay to call off the wedding?
I can't help but ask, even if it's reopening old wounds. Marty lets out a dry laugh.
Being a soccer player means you have a limited time in the spotlight. I don't think a marriage with Vanessa, who is so obsessed with her career, would last long.
That makes sense. Marty has a point. I can easily picture how Vanessa, who ridiculed me so much for working at a supermarket, would treat Marty after he quits soccer. Why didn't you tell her that I'm a writer? I throw another question at Marty. Marty hadn't told Vanessa that I'm a writer. It felt like there was some meaning behind this. I just didn't think it was necessary. Marty smiles. But I can't help but think that maybe Marty had noticed something about Vanessa's true nature. Several discussions took place between both families, and the marriage, the engagement, was officially called off. Vanessa and her parents resisted until the end, but it seems their relatives managed to hold them back. Even after the marriage fell through, Marty continues to thrive in soccer. On the other hand, it seems like Vanessa's family faced a tough time after her outburst in the waiting room got sold to the media. As for me, I'm considering turning this experience into a novel while continuing my writing and supermarket job. I plan to keep teaming up with Marty, just like we always have.